Chapter 16:20. Sure, eBay. Luo Qingxuan was angered by these 4 words, and her face turned red. She still wanted to say something, but he pulled her downstairs. Yuxing Fan's group followed behind. There were gunshots all around them, so they couldn't help feeling a bit nervous. This place isn't a safe zone yet. I'll protect you as you head to the center of the town. Lu Bo has already arrived there safely. He looked at Yuxing Fan. You're injured, don't break out. I can still, no need. Sure, eBay shook his head. I have a more important task for you. The center of the town. Luo Qingxuan saw the corpses on the ground and the wounded on the street. She suddenly felt that she really didn't need to go to the church with Sure Yi. This place should need her more. Tie her up. No matter what method you use, don't let her leave the safe zone. Sure Yi looked into her eyes and seriously said word for word, I'm not letting you go not because I don't believe in your abilities, but rather, I know. She looked up at him with a smile. I won't go, but don't tie me up. The person who was so angry that her face was flushed red suddenly became so obedient, which caught him off guard. This obedient? He looked at her, and there was a trace of pampering in his gentle voice. No one dared to look at her. After all, Major Sure had never spoken to anyone in such a tone before. I think that this place needs me more. Luo Qingxuan looked at Su Qingyin. Aren't you a doctor? What are you in a daze for? Save them. Because this area wasn't a safe zone before, they didn't think that the casualties would be this serious. There were only 2 doctors in the army other than Su Qingyin, and they weren't that skilled. Su Qingyin rolled her eyes at her and didn't reply. First, she had saved her life not long ago, and second, she was right. Between sniping and medicine, the latter was her strength. But why did Luo Qingxuan say that this place needed her more? Calling God Bay, calling God Bay. We have already surrounded the church and are waiting for orders. Over. Received. The platoon leader, and I will head over immediately. Over. As soon as his voice fell, Sure eBay slowly put down the walkie-talkie and turned to look at Luo Qingxuan. Stay here. I'll be right back. Luo Qingxuan nodded and said, Can you give me a walkie-talkie? If there's any danger, call me. Since this place needed her more, she didn't need to follow him. She believed that Sure eBay could deal with those militants. Here you go. He took out a walkie-talkie from his military bag and handed it to her. But there's a certain distance between here and the church. Even if something happens, you shouldn't be able to save me. Sure eBay's tone was very relaxed, so she knew that he wanted her to be assured. What if I have magic? Luo Qingxuan proudly raised her eyes and said, Maybe I have a special ability. The one who said to save people. Come and help. Su Qingyin couldn't keep listening as she said in a cold voice, What special ability? Let's put aside this fantasy for now, all right? Luo Qingxuan rolled her eyes. Seeing the pained expression of the wounded, she was too lazy to argue with Su Qingyin. She waved her hand and said to Sure eBay, Come back safely. Chapter 16:21. She was a bit surprised as she watched him leave, not coming back to her senses. When she came back to her senses, Sure eBay had already left her line of sight. There was a scene of blood in front of her eyes, but it shocked her very quickly. Her eyes trembled and her fingers couldn't help breaking out in a cold sweat. What is it? Tian Xian looked at her and knit her brows. Your face doesn't look good. Su Qingyin gave a shrug on the side and said with a faint smile, So you're afraid of this scene? I thought that you weren't afraid of anything. Luo Qingxuan tightly knit her brows and didn't respond. She suddenly thought of the scene she saw on the plane. As expected, her sixth sense had gradually turned into seeing and not feeling. Was the scene that flashed in front of her about to happen? Damn! The scene was too fast. She couldn't see it clearly at all. She just felt an uneasy feeling spreading from the bottom of her heart. Su Qingyin saw her standing there with a nervous look and thought that she wasn't used to seeing these patients. So she waved her hand at her. How about you sit down and rest? Actually, she didn't want to be friends with her, but in this dangerous place, life was the most important thing. In front of life, she could temporarily put down those small feelings in her heart. It's fine, let's save them. Luo Qingxuan walked across the street and took out a medical kit from her storage space in a corner where no one could see her. She looked around and saw the smell of blood in the air, as well as the helpless cries for help. Luo Qingchun checked the injuries of the patients, and her brows knit even tighter. She looked at Su Qingyin, who was also at a loss, and said, "AI, is there a hospital nearby? I need an operating room." "Surgery?" Su Qingyin was surprised as she looked at her. "You wouldn't be telling me that you want to operate on them, right? There are many people here who can only survive if they have surgery." Luo Qingchun pursed her lips. "Otherwise, there are too few people who can survive. With such a strong explosion, not to mention the people at the center of the explosion being blown to pieces, even the people who weren't at the center of the explosion were missing arms and legs. Under such circumstances, there was no way to survive without surgery. There's a hospital at the intersection ahead, but it's at the epicenter of the explosion. Most of the equipment inside is broken, and there are no living medical staff." Su Qingyin looked in the direction of the hospital and said, "And there is no electricity." "Su Qingyin, if my 400-yard 98K headshot surprised you." She raised her head and said, "You're responsible for getting your soldiers to help transfer all the patients to the hospital." Su Qingyin was silent for a long time before finally nodding. "Okay. Also, expand the safe zone as much as possible. When I entered the city through the small path, it was a mess outside." As soon as her voice fell, she glanced at Sweetheart beside her and said, "Bring the gun. Let's go to the hospital first." "All right." Tianqi nodded. At this time, she was almost obedient to Luo Qingchun's every word. She turned around and was about to walk forward when Su Qingyin called out to her from behind. "Who are you?" When she said this, there was no disdain or ridicule in her voice, but it was filled with deep questions. "I don't think you want to know." She gently nodded and said, "Please." Who she was, she didn't even know herself. Chapter 16:22. Standing in front of the hospital, even with Qingchun's sunlight shining on it, it didn't look warm at all. Looking in her direction, it was filled with smoke. The smell of formalin mixed with alcohol assailed his nostrils, and the ceiling was emitting hissing sound from time to time. Looking at it, it was bottomless. "God." Tian Xin couldn't help swallowing her saliva as she said, "It feels like a hallway to hell." Although Tian Xin's analogy was a bit exaggerated, Luo Qingchun felt that she wasn't wrong. There were already undead gathered in the hospital, and now there were even more undead. In a place without light, the Yin energy was very strong. "Follow me. I can't guarantee that there won't be anything that goes against science." Luo Qingchun put her hands in the pockets of her military uniform as she walked forward with large steps. Tian Xin heard this and quickly picked up her gun as she followed behind her while trembling. She already felt that it was a bit terrifying, but now that Luo Qingchun said this, she felt that the hallway in front of her was the path to hell. Si Dong. The lights on the ceiling flickered and a long tube fell down. "Ah!" Tian Xin gave a pitiful cry. "Ashi." Luo Qingchun was called by her, and her heart strangely jumped in her throat. She couldn't take it anymore. She didn't need to take it anymore. System, exchange for an ability. Ding, 500 exchange points has been taken. Successfully exchanged for mind control. In the next second, all the lights in front of her, starting from her position, lit up one by one. The entire hospital was like a dazzling light as it instantly lit up the hospital. "Qingchun, there's a ghost on, it should be a good ghost." She gave a soft laugh as she ran into the operating room while speaking into the walkie-talkie. "God Luo calling. The hospital's power has been restored. Arrange the patient's emergency levels clearly and give them pain relief if they can't be saved. Over." "God Luo." Su Qingyin rolled her eyes into the walkie-talkie and her lips twitched as she said, "Chung received. Over." At this moment, although it was daytime, the sky was gradually darkening. In the entire rock city, only this hospital had electricity. Su Qingyin stood at the entrance of the hospital in disbelief. Behind him were soldiers supporting a group of injured people. The oldest was an old man in his 70s or 80s, while the youngest was a 3.5-year-old child. War is the cruelest. It can take everything you have and destroy it. Luo Qingchun stood in front of the operating table. A pregnant mother was lying on the operating table. She clutched her stomach tightly and spoke in broken English. She shed tears desperately and begged Luo Qingshun to help her keep the baby. She shook her head and gently touched her belly. She replied in English, "He's already dead." There were no signs of life in the ultrasound. The child in the woman's stomach had long been stillborn. The pregnant woman shook her head with all her might, crying with all her might. Luo Qingshun frowned and injected her with a tranquilizer. Half an hour later, the dead fetus was removed and the operation was completed. Just as she was about to proceed with the next round of surgery, her heart suddenly skipped a beat. Yu Xingfan's voice came from the walkie-talkie. "Is there anyone? Is there anyone?" Something happened to the captain. Luo Qingshun's heart was beating fast, and her fingers couldn't help trembling. She charged downstairs without another word and saw Yi Bei covered in blood. His military uniform was covered in blood, and his eyes were tightly closed as he laid on the stretcher without a trace of blood on his face. Chapter 16:23. Su Qingyin, who came down at the same time, called out in a shocked voice as tears came down. Luo Qingshun felt her head buzzing as the cold wind blew into her eyes. The word Yi Bei said to her after he left echoed in her ears. "When you come back, I have something to tell you. When you come back, I have something to tell you. When you come back, I have something to tell you." He had tricked her like this without any warning. Immediately, push him into the operating room. Luo Qingshun took a deep breath and clenched her fists, calming herself down. On the way, Su Changyin kept muttering, "How could it be? How could it be? Isn't the captain this powerful? How could—" "I heard that it was because Lu Bo, right?" Luo Qingshun cut Yu Xingfan off and gave the answer. "How could you?" Yu Xingfan looked at her in shock as his eyes filled with disbelief. He didn't go to the church just now. He had heard about Lu Bo from his teammates who came back with him. Luo Qingshun had been in the hospital the entire time. How did she know that it was Lu Bo who fired? "Let's not talk about this for now." Luo Qingshun turned to push Yi Bei into the operating room before saying to Yu Xingfan behind her, "You don't need to come in. Go and take care of the things you need to take care of." Yu Xingfan glanced at her, his resolute eyes filled with deep admiration. From the moment she came to this place, her every word and action, everything she did was so inconceivable. He always felt that those clear eyes had the ability to see through everything. Su Qingyin and the other two doctors from the army entered the operating room. After connecting them to the ventilator, they were on the verge of life and death. "Su Qingyin, be my first assistant." Luo Qingshun looked at her with tears in her eyes as she said in a choked voice, "Please." Su Qingyin was startled and reflexively nodded. "Okay." She never thought that at this moment she would not refute Luo Qingshun. A popular singer actually asked to be the chief surgeon in front of her, a military doctor. But even if it was such a ridiculous thing, she still believed it inexplicably. She believed that she would do her best. In the next second, Luo Qingshun took a deep breath. Her eyebrows trembled as she said, "Saber dash, hemostatic forceps. Blood plasma can't be stopped. 8 bullets, 3 in the right leg, 1 in the bone, 2 in the shoulder, 1 in the back, and 1 in the abdomen." Luo Qingshun tried her best to control the trembling in her voice, but these were not enough to kill him immediately. She glanced at the CT screen in front of her and said, "The most important bullet was only about 3 centimeters away from the heart." "Luo Qingshun, you can't let—" Before Su Qingyin could say the word abandon, Luo Qingshun cut her off. "Gauze." Yi Bei was lying on the operating table. She wouldn't give up even in the final moment. "This is bad. The oxygen level is dropping. 1 milligram of epinephrine." Luo Qingshun took out the bullets one by one, not forgetting to calmly say this to the doctor beside her. Actually, it was a lie to say that she wasn't nervous, but she wasn't qualified to be nervous at this moment. It was like if she wasn't careful, she would take Yi Bei's life. Chapter 16:24. Standing outside the operating room, she was leaning against the wall covered in blood. She gently closed her eyes. At this moment, her fingertips were actually trembling uncontrollably. Although he isn't in danger yet, it's already a miracle. Su Qingyin took off her mask and looked at her. You really are powerful. Even if she was still unhappy, she had to admit it. Luo Qingshun was like a god, whether it was her marksmanship or her medical skills. Where's Yu Xingfan? Take me to see him. The snow in the sky became bigger, and it was late at night. The cold light of the crescent moon shone on the side of her face. Yu Xingfan was standing in front of her, looking a bit old. It was like he was a completely different person compared to when they first arrived at the base. Lu Bo betrayed you, right? Yes. Yu Xingfan gave a heavy nod. The captain had already saved the child and safely retreated. I never thought that the route of retreat would be an ambush. There were many injuries that I thought could have been avoided. Luo Qingshun narrowed her eyes and said in a cold voice, You should know what I mean. Generally speaking, soldiers who had received formal training should be very clear about how to protect themselves to the greatest extent in the face of an impending injury. But the places where Yi Bei was injured didn't have any defenses. This meant that he should have been injured while protecting someone. I've heard from my comrades that the captain was injured while protecting the child. Yu Xingfan's eyes turned red as he said through gritted teeth. He clearly only had a single breath left, but he kept going. He kept going. Don't say it. Luo Qingshun pursed her lips and took a deep breath. Have all the enemies been killed? Seeing the limit of blood loss, she knew that that person was desperately holding on. He said that he would come back safely, but he used his terrifying willpower to fight against death. Those people who injured him, how could they not go to hell? Lu Bo and the leader of the terrorists escaped. Yu Xingfan knit his brows and said, The local soldiers have already chased after them. They should have received orders from above. Humph. Luo Qingshun coldly snorted. Even if they didn't receive orders from their superiors, they would still go back. After all, I haven't done anything like charging into the enemy lines, but I have to do something like gaining glory. She had been in the safety zone for so long, but she had never seen a local soldier save anyone. This was enough to prove how incompetent they were. You two stay here and help me keep an eye on Major, sure. Luo Qingshun narrowed her eyes coldly and said, Tell me Lu Bo's escape route. 5 minutes ago, the local soldiers sent back a message saying that they saw them in the Xi'an area. There was even a gunfight, but they still managed to escape. Xi'an. Luo Qingshun frowned. Wasn't this the place she had passed by in a jeep? He vaguely remembered this sign. Were they fleeing in the direction of the White Cliff Base? Yes, from the town to the White Cliff Base. Yu Xingfan sighed and said, Don't worry. The traitor of the motherland definitely won't be able to escape. I don't want the people who hurt Major Sure to be happy for even a minute. Luo Qingshun's eyes were cold as her body emitted a chill. Yu Xingfan and Su Qingyin were stunned. Looking at her eyes, they felt an inexplicable chill. Chapter 16:25. What is she going to do? When Luo Qingshun disappeared into the corridor, Yu Xingfan finally came back to his senses and looked at Su Qingyin beside him. I don't know. Su Qingyin was very calm. Perhaps it was because all the impossible things had happened on the same day. Then no matter what happened next, she wouldn't be surprised. Standing at the entrance of the hospital, she raised her right hand and the Phoenix Dance sword appeared in her hand. Isn't a gun too merciful against a traitor of the motherland? She narrowed her eyes and used her memory to find the direction of West Cliff. Ding! 500 exchange points has been taken. Successfully exchanged for teleportation. Can only be used in this world. Standing in front of the West Cliff sign, she didn't forget to say a few words to the system. This skill that I'm already so familiar with. When do you plan on turning it into a permanent skill like time and space freeze? System reply. There's a chance to obtain a permanent ability every 10 worlds. The 30th world. Since I'm out, I'll give you the traitor's location. I'm rushing back. Above Wu Mountain to the left. They went up the mountain? Yes. It seems like they were hiding from the local soldiers. Luo Qingshun walked up the mountain from a small path. Her steps were very light, and the surroundings were terrifyingly silent. Until I even set up a trap and you didn't kill him. How can you call yourself a militant? A disgusting voice spoke in broken English. The other side replied in fluent English. A failure is a failure. The money I promised you can't be kept. Here is a small amount of money. Pay. You want to send father away with this bit of money. Do you think I'm a beggar? After all, I'm still a platoon leader. Gotcha. The sound of a gun being loaded rang out. The militant leader Mike raised the gun to Lu Bo's head and said, "You have to know that I won't give you a single cent." Lu Bo wanted to say something, but with the gun pointed at his head, he could only admit defeat. After that, he took the $100,000 from Mike's hand and said in Chinese, "I really have 8 lifetimes of bad luck. Since you've taken the money, let's part ways here." Mike snorted coldly. He picked up the box full of cash and planned to go down a mountain. In the middle of the road leading up and down, a young girl in military green camouflage stood there. She held the Phoenix Dance sword in her right hand and leaned against the bright moon, her gaze incomparably cold. Who? Don't be sneaky. Come out, or I'll shoot." Mike was obviously a little scared. After all, he had just blown up a city and killed so many people not long ago. Now that a person had suddenly appeared in such a gloomy and uninhabited place, it was inevitable that they would feel nervous. You want to run after killing so many people? Have you asked the gods of this world? Luo Qingshan suddenly raised her eyes, and her face instantly darkened, as if a storm was coming. The malice in her eyes almost froze everyone around her. "You? Don't try to play tricks on me. I'm a F***king traitor, so why would I be afraid of you?" Lu Bo, who had just finished counting the money, sneered. He raised the gun in his hand, pulled the trigger, and fired 8 consecutive shots in the direction of Luo Qingshan. Chapter 16:26. Xiao 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 xiao. The 8 bullets hit Mike's body, and there was only a pitiful cry. Mike was covered in blood as he fell down. His eyes rolled back, and he spat out black blood. Before he died, he had a look of extreme fear. "The 8 bullets that hit him, I'll return them to you." Luo Qingshan narrowed her eyes. Her voice didn't have a trace of warmth as she looked at Mike, who was about to die. "You're not qualified to hurt the person I want to protect. If you hurt him, you have to leave your life behind." As soon as her voice fell, Mike's head tilted and he died. Before he died, his hand was still tightly holding the money. She didn't know if he would still be able to use this money after he went to hell. At the same time, after Lu Bo saw this, he took 2 steps back and begged for forgiveness. Then he knelt down and kowtowed, begging for mercy. "Let me go. Let me go. He was the one who set the bomb. He killed people. He should go to hell. I beg you to let me go. Let me go." Flying Dragon Regiments, Silver Soul Troops, Captain Lu Bo, it's not enough to cut a person who betrays his country to pieces. Luo Qingshan coldly looked up and said, "But I won't let you die that easily." As soon as her voice fell, she jumped out with the Phoenix Dance sword in her hand and attacked in his direction. This kind of ancient sword, it was a kind of punishment for appearing at this time. For people who betrayed their country and their people, death was inevitable. The only thing left was how they died. Every time her sword hit Lu Bo, there was a trace of anger as Yi Bei's face appeared in her mind. His appearance when he was smiling, when he was focused, when he was serious, and when he was on the battlefield. She could imagine how hard it would be for him to find out that the teammate behind him was a traitor. The gun that was pointed at the enemy was now pointed at him. For money, he killed people without care, not even letting off a child. This kind of traitor was even more terrifying than a devil from hell. After 88 slashes, Lu Bo weakly fell down. The pain made him unable to say a single word. Although Luo Qingshan had cut open so many wounds on him, they were all skin deep and not bone deep. He wouldn't die from excessive blood loss, nor would he die from injuries to vital organs. There was only endless pain. He could neither live nor die. Just as Luo Qingshan was about to ask them to take Lu Bo back, a familiar voice came from the walkie-talkie. "Luo Qingshan, come back here." It was a pleasant, gentle, anxious, and slightly cold voice. It sounded really nice. Cough, cough. Luo Shan calling, Luo Shan calling. 2 fleeing enemies were spotted on Mount Wu. "The leader of the militants has been killed. As for your squadron leader." Luo Qingshan paused and looked at Lu Bo, who was lying on the ground with a painful expression. She then changed her words. "As for the traitor of the motherland, you can take him back. Stay where you are. I'll go find you. Sure, Bei's face was pale, and he was covered in bandages, but he didn't hesitate to take the coat beside him and personally pick her up. Cough, cough. Those two. Stop your captain for me. Luo Qingshan roared into the walkie-talkie. I work hard to save his life. You can't send him back to King Yama. Chapter 16:27. An hour later, Yu Xingfan led his men to Wu Mountain. When he saw Lu Bo, he almost called out in shock. There were countless wounds all over his body, and his pulse was weak, but it wasn't life-threatening. Sword wounds. Yu Xingfan looked at his wounds before looking at Luo Qingshan. Where did you get the sword? Luo Qingshan, standing on the side, had her hands in the pockets of her camouflage uniform as she said with a shrug, I won't tell you. On the way back, she sat in the passenger seat of Yu Xingfan's car. The two questions he asked the most were, how on earth did you get here on foot so quickly? It can't be that you're a sword god, right? Luo Qingshan helplessly shook her head. Shouldn't soldiers believe in science? I used to believe in science, but now I don't. When they came back to the hospital, the Flying Dragon Division's Silver Soul Troop lined up and stood at attention in front of her. Yu Xingfan pushed Lu Bo out from the back of the carriage. Before turning to all the soldiers, everyone listen up, stand at attention. All soldiers of the Silver Soul Troop, salute Comrade Luo Qingshan. Salute. A strong voice rang out, and Luo Qingshan looked at their determined eyes. Even if some people were injured, they didn't move at all. In their eyes, she was a savior. She caught Lu Bo and saved Shuri Bei. Everyone, listen to my orders. Disperse and return to your tents to rest. There was a familiar voice with an absolute order that came from behind them. Yes. When the soldiers left, she finally saw Shuri Bei in front of her. His face was still a bit pale, and the wounds on his body were wrapped in thick gauze, but she could still see the blood that came out. But those pitch-black eyes, when looking at her, were as deep as water. In just a few days, they had experienced things that normal people couldn't experience in their entire lives. Every moment, they were fighting against death. You really are the captain of the Silver Soul Troop, the major sure that everyone respects. After being seriously injured, your recovery is actually like this. Before her voice fell, the other side came in her direction. He reached out his right hand and firmly hugged her. Ding, affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 70%. A warm hug and affection came as expected. There wasn't a single person around. Everyone seemed to have left on their own, leaving them alone in this space. Luo Qingshan pursed her lips. Let's go up first. You still needn't forge rip. She didn't know how he woke up so quickly with such serious injuries. She felt that even the effects of the anesthetic hadn't passed yet. But he came to her side just like that, without a care for anything else. Do you still remember that I have something to tell you? He was still hugging her tightly, not letting go at all. He always felt that a soldier's man, he would never meet true love in this life. As a special forces soldier tasked with maintaining the country's peace, there seemed to be no turning back once they embarked on this path. Protecting the country, protecting the people was his only religion. But this belief had actually changed in just a few days. I know, I didn't hear anything, but I did see you covered in blood. Luo Qingshan gave a proud snort. Everyone said to call me if there was danger, but you... Chapter 16:28. Ding, affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 80%. Luo Qingshan thought that Shuri Bei would confess to her, but she never thought that it would be in this situation. I don't want to accept it. Luo Qingshan softly pushed his embrace. I don't want to accept a boyfriend who isn't willing to take me to the dangerous battlefield. If she was here, Shuri Bei definitely wouldn't have been that heavily injured. This wasn't a special world. She had the ability to protect him. But he wasn't willing to take her and didn't call for her when he was in danger. Even if Shuri Bei was standing in front of her, as long as she thought of him covered in blood with 8 bullets in his body, her heart would skip a beat. It really was too shocking. Shuri Bei heard this, and his eyes dimmed. He slightly knit his brows as he looked at her. Actually, knew that you would reject me. How could a big star like a soldier? Even if he could hear the complaint in her voice, complaining that he didn't take her to kill the enemy. He admitted that she was very powerful as a god. But even so, as long as it was a dangerous place, it was impossible for him to take her. It was natural for a man to protect a woman, so for him to protect her was justified. Even if she was a god, he would use his mortal body to protect her. There was no reason. It was just like how he wasn't willing to hurt her, even if he had 10 bullets. So what if I'm a soldier? Luo Qingshan gave a soft snort. How proud is it to protect one's country? Major, sure. Why are you changing the topic? Was there a problem with her expression? What she said, simply translated, was, if you bring me with you the next time you're in danger, I'll promise you. Isn't that right? Isn't that right? Isn't that right? Because I won't take you in danger. Sure, Bei's deep eyes had a faint sparkle as he looked at her. If the success of my confession is based on taking you in danger, I'd rather my confession fail. Although, it does hurt. He gave a bitter smile, but there was a trace of gentleness in his disappointment. It was probably because he had taken off his military uniform that his chiseled face looked even more handsome. You're really pissing me off. Luo Qingshan frowned with displeasure. Stubborn major. All of a sudden, she had an inexplicable feeling of being defeated by someone. This feeling was quite strong. Protecting you is one of the things I want to do the most. It's an unshakable thing. I always feel that when soldiers talk about love, it's especially touching. I'm telling the truth. Truth is also flirtatious. Luo Qingshan raised her eyes and looked at him with a faint smile, and it was very successful. Is that so? He smiled and pursed his lips in embarrassment. The next second, he seemed to have thought of something. He looked at her and asked, "What did you just say?" He seemed to have heard her say that he had succeeded, so did she agree to his request? At that moment, sure, Bei's heart was beating excitedly. He completely forgot that he had just brushed past a bullet, and his heart was beating very strongly. Unhumph. Luo Qingshan raised her right hand and looked at his pale face as she stroked it. Although our major is very stubborn, this stubbornness is very attractive. No wonder what? Sure, Bei suddenly raised his right hand and grabbed her wrist, holding it back. Chapter 16:29. It was already 3 days later when they returned to the White Cliff Base. Because of the intervention of the local military, the matter of the militants had come to an end, so she didn't need to care about what happened next. Xiaojio's group was very excited to see them come back, almost hugging her with tears and snot. I knew that you must have followed Tian Xin when you went missing. Xiaojiu let out a long sigh of relief. It's a good thing you're fine, otherwise how would I explain it to the company? She could even imagine what kind of headlines the media would make if something happened to Luo Qingshan. Shocking news. A famous singer was attacked by a terrorist in a reality show. Heavy Morning. The classic song sung by God Luo. Reality show. It really is real. She really lost her life. It's too sad. Luo Qingshan pretended to be disappointed as she shook her head. You're actually not worried about my safety. You're worried about how to explain it to the company. Qingshan, you're wronging Xiaojio. She's the one who's worried about you the most. I'm just joking. Luo Qingshan saw that Xiaojio's eyes were red and tears were about to fall, so she quickly patted her head. Quickly pack your things. We're preparing to go back. Although this matter had come to an end, it was still a matter of casualties and benefits between the countries. Adding in the fact that so many people had died, everything related to entertainment had to stop. CSI, God Bei calling, God Luo, please answer. The red light on the walkie-talkie in his right hand flashed as sure Bei's voice came from it. The entire Silver Soul Troop didn't say anything. After all, when the captain spoke, who dared to interrupt? Received. What does Major Sure need? I'm waiting for you in front of the helicopter at the field. Over. Xiaojio's group looked at Luo Qingshan with gossipy looks, saying in a gossip tone, Could it be that there's a story between a soldier and a star? No gossip. Luo Qingshan pursed her lips into a smile that was hard to hide as she walked towards the field. It was snowing all the way, but she didn't feel cold at all in her military green camouflage uniform. Suddenly, he felt an inexplicable sense of mission when he put on this dress. He was not afraid of death. Luo Qingshan thought that sure eBay wanted to say goodbye to her before going back, but she never thought that the farewell ceremony would be so unique. The whole field was surrounded by pink balloons, white flowers, and the crisp sound of wind chimes swaying in the wind. Sure eBay stood in front of the helicopter. He had taken off his military uniform and was wearing a moon-white sweater, as well as holding a bouquet of champagne flowers as he looked at her. Luo Qingchen felt her heart skip a beat. She was inexplicably flustered. Was this a proposal ceremony? She strode forward and raised her eyes. Major Sure, you're indeed so surprising that I'm caught off guard. You're going back, so I wanted to give you a surprise. Sure eBay looked at her with sparkling eyes that were as gentle as water. His face was still a little pale. After all, it was impossible to recover from such a serious injury in just 2 or 3 days. She always felt a strange pain in her heart when she saw Sure eBay like this. It was very strong. Are you certain it's a surprise and not a scare? Luo Qingchen pursed her lips into a smile with a naughty look in her eyes. But she didn't know that Sure eBay would raise his right hand and take her by the waist, pulling her behind him. When Luo Qingchen reacted, his cool lips had already softly kissed her. Chapter 16:30. Oh, it was unknown where the shouts of the audience came from. Sure eBay's kiss was very soft, leaving her the moment it touched her lips. Everyone listen to my orders. He narrowed his eyes and said with an absolute aura, turn around. With the sound of footsteps, the entire field fell into a terrifying silence. Unhumph. Luo Qingchen pursed her lips and looked up at Sure eBay. She grabbed the collar of his sweater with her right hand and pulled him in, kissing him in a domineering manner. Sure eBay was surprised by her actions and didn't come back to his senses for 3 seconds. Ding! Affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 90%. It was only when he came back to his senses that he took the initiative and kissed her again seriously. After a while, he said, "Marry me." This was her first time feeling that the sky above the white cliff base looked this good. If it's a wedding, I want to hold it in a sea of flowers. All right, your vacation will be a bit longer. You won't be called back to the army during your honeymoon. All right, I have a concert tour in October next year. You have to come see it. All right. He patted her head and put the bright diamond ring on her right ring finger. This was the promise Sure eBay gave Luo Qingchen. It was like he said that he would definitely come back. Even if he was shot 8 times, he still came back. Sitting in a helicopter looking down at the white cliff base, looking at Sure eBay's figure, there was an indescribable feeling. But she thought of something. That was, if the previous host chose to come here, she shouldn't have been able to flirt with Major Sure. AI! Xiao Jiu sitting in the helicopter gave a sigh. It feels like we didn't get any material this time. It's such a pity. It's not important. It's not important. Luo Qingchen's lips curled as she thought of Sure eBay standing in front of the helicopter. It was snowing, and against the light, he really was handsome. Sigh. Little Jiu sighed again and said, "The Love reality show is going to premiere tonight. If the ratings are good, I won't feel good. It's not important. It's not important." Luo Qingchen waved her hand, still smiling. You. Little Jiu closed her eyes in frustration and muttered, "I'm so angry." After more than 10 hours, Luo Qingchen and the others finally returned to City A. As soon as he arrived at the airport and turned on the internet, his phone started ringing nonstop. All kinds of WeChat, QQ, Weibo, text messages, and call alerts came one after another. Her friends and fans were all worried about the danger they would encounter in the White Cliff United Nations. Her popularity exceeded 1.5 million, and she remained at the top of the Weibo trending list for a long time. I'll go. When little Jiu saw this, her originally dispirited expression instantly became energetic. She didn't expect that the military reality show, which had been quiet for the past few days, would be so popular. The top trending topic was #GodLuo. Please come back soon. #Luo Qingchen looked in little Jiu's direction, and her eyes fell onto the second topic. It was talking about Qiao Na and Jiang Xizhe. The topic was #Love reality show made real. #Luo Qingchen clicked on it and found that it was a photo taken by a detective. It was Qiao Na going in and out of Jiangxi's room in the middle of the night. Although it was a bit dark, it was indeed Jiangxi. The third topic surprised her a bit. It was hashtag Jiangxi signs with prosper hashtag. Chapter 16:31. When she got home and took a shower, the first thing Luo Qingshan did was to open Weibo and tell everyone who cared about her that she was safe. Luo Qingshan v. I got home safely. Thank you for your concern. After experiencing so much, I understand that everything I have now is a fluke. Spring under the apple tree. Ah, Hero Luo finally posted on Weibo. So touched. It's good that you came back safely. Pray, 9,999 likes. Little Fox, I don't know about those things. You will have everything you want. 5,878 likes. Love for a long time. It's good that you came back. We could do anything you want. Asterisk carrot asterisk. 6,589 likes. Fleeting past. Welcome home, Hero Luo. Can you not participate in this kind of show in the future? We know you are doing it for charity, but our heart can't stand it. Asterisk carrot asterisk. 2,235 likes. Looking at the comments of the fans, Luo Qingshan couldn't help but smile. She suddenly felt that it was a particularly warm thing to have them accompany her in this life. She could share her happiness, anger, sorrow, and joy, and they could accompany her for a long time. Ding dong. It was an ordinary QQ message, but the original owner didn't have many friends and usually didn't contact with them. Who would come to her at this time? Opening QQ, she found that the profile picture from Sweetheart was flashing. Her QQ name was very strange, called a candy in the snow. Luo Qingshan looked at it and realized that it was Sweetheart. A candy in the snow. Come out, come out. I have something to tell you. The original owner's online name was Normal. Very simple 2 words. Hero Luo. Hero Luo? A candy in the snow. Why are you so cold? Hero Luo. Why are you so excited? A candy in the snow. Actually, when we went to Rock City, I was helping you take a video. On the other side of the computer, Sweetheart was wearing green and white plush pajamas and was in a particularly good mood. She didn't have many friends since she was a child, and she didn't even have the family affection that most people had. She didn't expect to meet Luo Qingshan in a military reality show. From the White Cliff Base to Rock City, everything that happened was still vivid in her mind. Just thinking about it made her feel especially excited. Luo Qingshan was her first friend. She felt that she should do something for her. Hero Luo, I know. Don't you know you've been holding your phone? Oh, Luo Qingshan said. She has the potential to be a reporter since she can still use her phone to take photos of the scene when she was so scared. A candy in the snow, all right. Did you watch a love show tonight? Your ex-boyfriend, Hero Luo. Ahem. A candy in the snow. I'm sorry. That Jiangxi and Qiao Na were too intimate in the show, but the effect didn't seem to be too good. Luo Qingshan's eyebrows moved slightly, and she types a line of words on the keyboard. Hero Luo. Wait a moment, let me take a look. He casually clicked on the Weibo of the True Love show, and sure enough, the underground comments were quite sharp. Blue Mountain Coffee. I used to think that even though love shows were fake, there was still some truth to them. But after watching the missing Qiao couple, I realized that it was all real. 99.99 likes under the cherry blossom tree. +1. They hugged as soon as they came up. Were they really not a couple before? Oh, I feel sorry for Hero Luo. 2 weeks ago, the detective group exposed a scandal with Jiangxi, and she was cheated on in minutes. Ruthless falling flowers. To be honest, it's really awkward. It feels like they're deliberately acting. Even if it's for popularity, it's too much. 8,585 likes. Chapter 16:32. Of course, there were also compliments, but the number was relatively small. Little Beauty. I think the missing Xiao CP is very good. You are all paid trolls hired by Luo Qingshan. 225 likes. Finally waiting for you. Please don't say that about someone who just came back from a life and death battlefield. 9,999 likes. Only Qing Love. You can hire trolls in a place where there is no wireless internet. You're also a compliment. I'm dying of laughter. Watch the news if you don't know. The helicopter from the White Cliff United Nations only arrived a few hours ago. 8,889 likes. Luo Qingshun didn't continue scrolling. She just silently said in her heart, I'm relieved to see that everyone is scolding you. She opened QQ and clicked on the chat box with Sweetheart. God Luo, I saw it. Thank you for telling me. I'm in a good mood. Asterisk, caret omega caret. Asterisk candy in the snow. That's not what I want to talk to you about. Luo Qingshun, who was sitting in front of the computer, was stunned. Then, she quickly typed on the keyboard. God Luo. What is it? Candy in the snow. Look at the #1 trending topic. I edited a video for you. Of course, I told little Gio about this in advance. Asterisk caret asterisk video. Damn, could it be? Luo Qingshun opened Weibo again and saw the Weibo post that Sweetheart had posted 20 minutes ago. She also returned it to her. To be precise, it was a Weibo post and a video. Sweetheart, you are the person I admire the most in the world. Note that this is definitely not an act. Video link by GHGLQC. Luo Qingshun. In just 20 minutes, there were 20,000 reposts and more than 50,000 comments. With an absolute advantage, she brushed off the previous trending topic. The next second, she took a deep breath and clicked on the video. The first thing that caught his eye was a black screen with a line of words written on it. Do you know? You are a godlike existence, and we are all your believers. Sweetheart, I never knew that a singer could be a first-class sniper. Surely, absolute goddess, please accept my kneeling. Xiao Xiao. You're dazzling, your radiance. No one can rival you. Xiao Jiao. High energy ahead. Take note, this is not a drill. High energy ahead. Take note, this is not a drill. High energy ahead. Take note, this is not a drill. The next second, he saw her holding a revolver and firing 5 shots in a row. The background music quickly started to play. She was wearing a camouflage military uniform and holding a gun in her right hand. She was so handsome that her female lead aura was off the charts. The screen was connected very well. It was another black screen with the words, challenge from a female soldier. What followed was the scene of her shooting a full circle with her M16. Bang, 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 bang. The sound of gunshots rang in their ears, and the soldiers on the screen were all dumbfounded. Then, the screen was filled with high-energy warnings. The image wasn't very clear, but it could be seen clearly. She was on top of the clock tower. She took out her car 98K and fired at the top of the church opposite her. The video even captured Yuxing Fan lying on the ground, covered in blood. The entire Rock City was filled with smoke. Then, there was another black screen with the words, do you think sharpshooters only know how to shoot? No, she also knew how to save people. In the video, she was wearing a camouflage uniform, and one by one, the rescuers were taking care of the wounded. Sometimes, when Sweetheart was needed, the camera would keep shooting the dark red sky. This was a city that had been bombed, and white smoke was everywhere. Chapter 1633. It had to be said, this clip was really good. This short 6-minute video was like a trailer for a movie. It was definitely exciting. The comments were all filled with shock. Even if the video emphasized that it wasn't a drill, there were still people who thought that it was. After all, it was too exaggerated. Milk isn't a cow. My God, is this the White Cliff United Nations? 9,999 likes. Love for a long time. Is this my God Luo? Too handsome. 9,999 likes. Little Fox. Am I the only one who feels like it's the beginning of a movie? 9,999 likes. Fleeting life. It's so handsome that my eyes are about to explode. 9,999 likes. Autumn wind falling leaves. Am I the only one who thinks that this is hype? 1,257 likes. Time slowly walks. I also feel that this is too impossible. Yogurt sauce. Then this kind of hype? You don't want to live? Luo Qingshun didn't keep reading since there were too many comments. It was like a monstrous wave that couldn't stop the passion of the people in the middle of the night. She just wanted to know, was it legal to send this video like this? This kind of video about war should be caught. Luo Qingshun's clear eyes trembled. When she was prepared to open the chat box again, Tian Xian's avatar was already flashing. A candy in the snow. So angry. God Luo. God Luo, what are you angry for? You and Xiao Jio sent this video. Did you ask me? You really aren't afraid of death. You could just record this video. How can you really send it out? A candy in the snow. So angry, so angry. God Luo. Just what are you angry about? A candy in the snow. There's still many exciting scenes that haven't been filmed. I'm very annoyed thinking about it now. Luo Qingxun took a deep breath to show that she had to calm down. She quickly took out her phone and wanted to call Sure eBay, but it was a pity that his phone was turned off. Could it be that something happened in the White Cliff United Nations? The next morning, she was woken up by Xiao Jio's calls. She anxiously said on the phone, "What do we do? What do we do? Prosperous leaders told us to have a meeting early in the morning." Luo Qingxun scratched her temple and slightly knit her brows. His head felt heavy, probably because he had not adjusted to the jet lag. "Qingxun, what do you think the leader wants to talk to us about?" Little Gio seems a little nervous. After all, this is the first time a manager of her status is holding such a meeting. Ahem. In the next second, Luo Qingxun cleared her throat and said, "Don't you know what the leader wants to talk to us about? Who was it that happily edited the video with Sweetheart yesterday? With such a high number of reposts and dissemination, how could the leader not talk to you?" Little Gio's sobbing voice came from the other end of the phone. It was as if the other party would immediately cry if she yelled. In short, since things have come to this point, we can only act according to the circumstances. As soon as she finished speaking, she hung up and quickly got out of bed. She was wearing a coffee-colored plush coat and a tasseled scarf. Large sunglasses covered 2/3 of her face. After getting into Little Gio's car, Luo Qingxun finally had the time to open Weibo and check the aftermath of the video incident. She thought that the video would definitely be deleted, but she didn't expect it to still be on the front page. 780,000 reposts and over 3 million comments. This treatment was simply too good. But this matter was indeed very strange. She tapped her right hand out of habit and came to the only possible conclusion. Chapter 1634. The first person that flashed in her mind was Sure eBay, but she immediately rejected it. Even a major of the National Army didn't have the right to keep this video since it was related to a company like Glory World. Then the only person who could keep this video was a high-level member of Glory World. Luo Qingxun thought for a long time, but she couldn't find any high-level members of Glory World from the previous host's memories. "Qingxun, what do we do? I'm a bit panicked right now." Xiao Ju looked at her with a bitter face. "I wouldn't be fired, right?" Luo Qingxun rolled her eyes at her, and her lips twitched. "Shouldn't you be worried about being arrested?" It can't be. It can't be." Xiao Ju slammed on the brakes as cold sweat dripped down her back. She looked at her with an angry look. "Qingxun, how about we delete the video?" Seeing her pale face, Luo Qingxun pursed her lips and said, "I thought that you and Tion Xin had a high chance of being locked up." "Of course. That includes me." Luo Qingxun opened her laptop and typed the words Flourishing World Corporation in the search bar before calmly saying, "But after a day, not only has this video not been blocked, it has been the #1 trending video. This can only mean one thing." "What?" She pressed the Enter key and searched for useful information while replying to Xiao Jio. "Someone is helping us." The biggest shareholder of Glory World Group was Shi Zhe, the richest man in a city. He founded it 20 years ago. Wait. What's wrong? Little Jio's already pale face turned even uglier after being frightened by her. Luo Qingxun narrowed her eyes and said, "The world is so small, it can't be." "Tell me, is the surname Sure common?" Luo Qingxun looked at the frightened Xiao Jio and asked this. Xiao Jio thought about it before shaking her head. "No, it's not. I've been in Glory World for so many years, but I've never seen the chairman of Glory World Corporation. I suddenly feel a bit angry. What kind of person is he?" Luo Qingxun looked ahead and said, "The light is green." "Oh." Little Jio was still very flustered. While she was panicking, Luo Qingxun's mysterious expression made her heart jump to her throat. When she arrived at the company's meeting room, it was already full of people, including Qiao Na, Jiang Xija, and her former manager, Sister Gu. At first, when she saw Jiang Xija, she felt a little strange. Later, she remembered the words on the hot search list. This person had come to Golden Era. Since the main character is here, let's begin. The person who said this was called De Bing, the person in charge of the public relations crisis of Shengshi Group. Luo Qingqian nodded and found a place to sit down. Little Jiao resentfully sat beside her, her expression still ugly. First of all, welcome back, Qingqian. This reality show event at the White Cliff Base was not well thought out by the company, which caused you to fall into such a big crisis. Brother De Bing. Luo Qingqian leaned back in her chair and put her hands on her hips. She raised her eyebrows and said, "Since so many people have been invited for this meeting, there's no need to waste everyone's time. Get to the point." There was a hint of awkwardness in the air. Then, a slightly sharp and ear-piercing voice pierced her ears. "Hey, Sister Qingqian, don't tell me you don't know how much impact your self-made video has on the company." Xiao Na looked very unhappy, but her tone was not too bad. Chapter 1635. Influence. Luo Qingqian gave a cold snort and raised her eyebrows. Does the company's stock price rising count as influence? When she was sitting in the car, she had taken a look at the company's stock. It had already reached the upper limit before the market opened. It seemed that the reason why her video hadn't been deleted had something to do with this. Jiang Xija sat beside Xiao Na with his hands crossed on his thighs. He was wearing a navy blue jacket. The original owner once said that she thought he was very handsome in this jacket. Luo Qingqian couldn't help laughing in her heart. The original owner's vision and brain needed to be improved. Xiao Na tried to control her emotions and gritted her teeth. Sister Qingqian, you have to know that the number of reposts of this video has already affected our company's image. Xiao Na was so unhappy in her heart. A large part of the reason was that her expectations were too high. The higher the expectations, the higher the disappointment. She had always thought that the White Cliff United Nations was attacked by militants and none of them would be able to come back. If Luo Qingqian died like this, then the position of Shengshi's #1 sister would be empty. Then she would have a chance. Unfortunately, it was all for naught. When she was excited, the news that they had returned safely appeared. Not only that, this news was like a sea-stabilizing needle. It sat at the top of the hot search list and firmly stepped on all the words about her. Oh, affect the company's image? Luo Qingqian pulled the corner of her mouth and gave an extremely cold smile. You said that if our company's image fell, why did our stock rise? The people who seemed to have come to crusade against her were powerless to refute her words. De Bing saw the strong smell of gunpowder and hurriedly stood up and said, "Actually, the purpose of today's meeting is that President Chen wants to ask for everyone's opinion. Is there any suggestion about the video?" President Chen was the leader she saw most often in Shengshi. He was the chief executive of many large events. Wouldn't it be fine if it was deleted? An artist with heavy makeup sitting on Xiao Na's left said, "This kind of video is obviously edited. Does the #1 sister also need to ride on the popularity?" As soon as she finished speaking, she didn't forget to look at Xiao Na and raised her eyebrows confidently. Luo Qingqian narrowed her cold eyes and looked at her with an imposing manner. "If this video is not edited, will you eat the computer that played it?" A few artists in the conference room couldn't help but laugh when they heard such funny words from such a cold voice. Xiao Qiao's personality was more impatient, unlike Xiao Na, who knew how to restrain herself. In the next second, she rolled her eyes in disdain and said, "Sister, don't you know in your heart whether it's a fusion or not? Do you want to test my marksmanship? Or do you want to test my medical skills after being shot by me?" Luo Qingqian responded almost instantly, not to be outdone. When it came to insulting people, she felt that she was very experienced after experiencing so many scumbags. Big Bing glanced at Xiao Qiao, who was jumping around, and clarified, "This video has already been verified by the company's post-production staff. It's not a composite. The armed attack in the White Cliff United Nations is also absolutely true. There's no need to argue and discuss this matter." Xiao Qiao's angry face instantly stiffened when she heard this. Her eyes widened and were filled with disbelief. This video, How could it not be a composite? Chapter 1636. Ahem, Jiang Sija, who had been thinking of ways to get Luo Qingqian's attention, cleared his throat and said, I've seen the video. I think it's a very positive thing for the company. The company's stock price should be rising because of this. After all, in a place where bullets rain down, he could perform so well. It was really unusual. Moreover, he came to Shengshi. Luo Qingqian, as the top sister, had such an ambiguous relationship with him. At this time, it was not impossible to speak up for her. This woman was so infatuated with him before. He knew that today's meeting was about her, so he specially wore what she thought was the best clothes he ever wore. The last breakup was too hasty. If they could reconcile, it was not impossible to have one foot in two boats. Jiang Sija. Xiao Na winked at him and did not forget to pinch his thigh. Luo Qingqian smiled and looked at Jiang Sija ungratefully. It's about Shengshi. We don't need a newcomer to judge. Luo Qingqian. You. Jiang Sija suddenly felt that all his face was lost. He thought that Luo Qingqian would send him a grateful look, but the result was not only that, but she did not appreciate it at all. Seeing this, Xiao Na directly said to Dabing, Brother Dabing, I think it's fairest to vote. Whether this video is true or not, it's not a good thing to cause such a big public opinion. Regarding the voting, Xiao Na was 80% sure that she would win. After all, the fall of Shengshi's top sister was good for every artist who wanted to stand out. It seems that in Xiao Na's heart, topics like the Olympic Games, Army Day, and the National People's Congress are not good. Luo Qingqian smiled disdainfully. If you didn't say the second half of the sentence, it would be a good thing. Luo Qingqian naturally knew that if the vote was cast, the result would not be satisfactory for her. If the vote failed, her position in Shengshi would definitely decline. For her position, even if those third or fourth tier artists could not reach it, they could more or less get some resources. However, she couldn't find a valid reason to refute Jonah's suggestion. Dabing frowned and thought for a long time before saying, I don't think the voting is completely fair. As the head of public relations, he naturally knew that voting to deal with the video incident was unfair to Luo Qingqian. Xiao Na's request was obviously to embarrass Luo Qingqian. Big Brother Bing, that's not right. Xiao Na raised her eyebrows in displeasure and said, Those who don't know would think that you have some unspeakable relationship with her. Xiao Na. Just as Dabing was about to say something, he was interrupted by Luo Qingqian's ringtone. The caller ID was a familiar name, Shuri Bei. I say, you don't understand something as simple as turning off your phone in a meeting? Xiao Na looked at Luo Qingqian with an arrogant look, not even bothering to call her big sister. Kacha! The door of the conference room was slowly opened. Everyone looked at the door, but Luo Qingqian heard a notification from his system at that moment. Ding! Affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 100%. Then there was a beautiful figure that appeared in front of her, as well as a gentle voice with an absolute aura. What unspeakable matter does my fiancé have? Why did my fiancé turn off her phone? Why did my fiancé delete the video? Chapter 1637. Luo Qingqian felt a buzz in her head as her mind went blank. She thought that Shi Bei and Shi Zhe had a certain connection, but she never thought that he would appear so directly. It was no wonder his phone was turned off when she called him. It was because he was on a plane. Everyone looked at the door in a daze as they knit their brows in a daze. After all, Shi Bei was a stranger in their minds. But Director Chun, who had been sitting in the middle, was like a robot as he stood up and quickly fixed his suit. Young Master Shi. Director Shi's only son, he as the chief executive had only seen him a few times. He didn't even know what the other side did, but he had a deep impression of him. After all, his face was too good. It was shocking. Young Master? Xiao Na's eyes almost popped out of their sockets as her face contorted in disbelief. Xiao seemed to have lost her intelligence as she loudly asked, You're very unfamiliar. You're from flourishing age. Her voice gradually became smaller when she said the last sentence. Without knowing why, she felt that the other side didn't say a single word, but there was a strange pressure. Shut up for me. Director Chen glared at Qiao Qiao with sharp eyes. You don't want to stay here anymore? Sure, eBay narrowed his eyes as a cold look appeared in them. He walked over to Luo Qingshan step by step. She was standing there with a relaxed look and a smile that was hard to hide on her lips. No matter where he was always so dazzling and radiant. From the moment he came in, Jiang Xi's eyes had been on him the entire time. Now, seeing him firmly standing by Luo Qingchen's side and holding her hand, there was an inexplicable discomfort in her heart. Director Chen immediately came forward with a smile. What wind blew young Master Shi here today? Didn't you hear what I just said? Shi Bei's eyes that were filled with absolute power looked up at him. Do you need me to repeat it? In the army, no matter how long he said something, he never repeated it. A soldier's mission was to obey. That way he could make the most correct decision in the shortest amount of time. But here, naturally he had the final say. Therefore, his fiancée did not allow anyone to bully her. Director Chen was surprised, as if he was thinking about what Shi Bei had just said. 3 years later, he sucked in a breath of cold air with a shocked expression. Luo Qingshan was his fiancée? What was going on? Was Glory World's #1 sister going to become Glory World's owner? Why are you back? Have you taken care of the matters on that side? Luo Qingshan looked up with a faint smile as she asked this. No. He shook his head. When he looked into her eyes, his gaze was gentle. I miss you. The meeting room was very quiet. Although their conversation was not very loud, everyone could hear it clearly. Xiaona's expression was very awkward. She just said that they would vote. If she suddenly changed her mind, wouldn't she be seen as a joke by everyone present? But looking at President Chen's expression, there's a 90% chance that this overly handsome man was really the young master of Glory World. If he offended him, it would be difficult for him to survive in Golden Age. But she was Xiaona. Once upon a time, Jiang Xizhi, who stood by her side, had been easily stolen by her from Luo Qingshan. Now Luo Qingshan had changed to an even better man. Chapter 1638. With this thought in mind, Jonah instantly changed from an aggressive character to a righteous and principled little white flower. So it's young Master Shi. Xiao Na pursed her lips and said with a faint smile, although it's like you said, prosper is yours. But we've been here for a long time, so we have feelings. I hope it's good. It's not like some people who only care about their own hype and don't care about the company's image. After saying this, Xiao Na looked at Luo Qingshan with a proud look in her eyes. It was like she was saying, I can even steal Luo Qingshan's man. Xiao Na was so polite to Shi Bei because she knew what kind of woman men liked. She stood out bravely for the benefit of the company, so she must be very dazzling in Shi Bei's heart. He would definitely look at her in a different light. Like this, she would have a chance to get close to this rich man. She pretended not to see Director Chen's meaningful looks. She just wanted to use her other self to conquer this man called Shi Bei. But she didn't know that. Hype? Shi Bei's cold eyes narrowed as he looked at Xiao Na. Then he turned to Director Chen on the side. Director Chen, help this artist book a ticket to the White Cliff Country. The company will pay for it. Director Chen was covered in cold sweat when he heard this, but he immediately gave a nod. Ow. All right. In the next second, Xiao Na's expression froze. Her originally confident and proud face suddenly turned pale. Her heart thumped nonstop, and even her breathing seemed to be particularly rapid. White Cliff people and country, the place that the militants had just bombed, they actually wanted her to go. Seeing Xiao Na's pale face, Shi Bei didn't feel any guilt at all. Instead, he tightly held Luo Qingshan's hand before looking at Xiao Na. Didn't you say that the video was edited for hype? Then I'll let you go and see what real hell is like. His words had an aura that no one else had, as he held Luo Qingshan's hand even tighter. A few days ago, they were in a foreign country with almost no backup, experiencing the darkness before dawn that no one could understand. Without taking a single step, what awaited them could be bullets or death. Until now, when he recalled the scene of her holding a 98K and fighting to the death with the sniper on the opposite side of the clock tower, his heart unconsciously tightened. His chest felt stuffy, and his breathing was heavy. In that hellish place, he had killed the sniper with his own hands, saved him with his own hands, and caught the traitor with his own hands. However, all of this was called hype by a frog at the bottom of a well. What a joke. Xiao Na's face was completely pale. She raised her right hand and subconsciously grabbed Jiang Xi's hand. She didn't expect the other party to dodge without hesitation. She glared at him before taking a step back. She looked at Shuri Bei and said, I never thought that the young master of the Flourishing World Group would be this biased. This was the so-called losing face. The White Cliff Country was such a dangerous place, and Shuri Bei actually wanted her to go. Was there a mistake? I wouldn't have reacted if you didn't say anything. Shuri Bei raised a brow, and his lips curled into a faint smile as he looked at her. Since you've already said the word favoritism, if I don't help you, it would make my Prosper group seem stingy. Xiao Na wanted to say something, but Shuri Bei cut her off. Chapter 1639. When Bei said this, everyone in the conference room was shocked. Naturally, that included Luo Qingchen. Her shock was different from everyone else's because she understood Shuri Bei better than anyone else. The Flying Dragon Regiment's major, the leader of the Silver Soul Troop, a man with absolute principles, would actually say something like protecting. She really couldn't believe it. Young Master, sure, I didn't mean that. Xiao Na, who was thinking about not fighting for the Mantu, completely panicked when she heard that Shuri Bei wanted her to leave. She never thought that the other side would say this. If he wanted her to leave, Glory World would have to pay the penalty. All right? They had a contract. I think that I've said it very clearly. As soon as his voice fell, Shuri Bei looked at Director Chun and said, I'll leave this side to you. I'll be taking Qingchen. These normal words sounded very warm to Luo Qingchen's ears. She always felt that Shuri Bei was a decisive and cold man on the battlefield. But when it came to her, it was warm and warm. She felt like she was being protected by the other side, although she could easily deal with someone like Xiao Na. But being protected by Shuri Bei like this, she couldn't help feeling happy in her heart. Young Master Shur, wait a minute. When Shuri Bei took her hand and turned to leave, Xiao Na called out to him from behind. Shuri Bei didn't turn and ignored her as he continued walking forward while holding those warm hands. Xiao, who was standing beside Xiao Na, couldn't help shouting, Can we wait a minute? Although she knew that she was speaking for Xiao Na, the other side was still the young master of Glory World. Although her tone was impatient, there was still a pleading tone to it. Shuri Bei narrowed his cold eyes and stopped. You don't need to come tomorrow. He didn't turn, and when he said this, he softly patted Luo Qingchen's head as he asked with a gentle smile, Do you want Chinese or Western food for lunch? This action of completely ignoring her made Xiao Na feel an unprecedented humiliation. She was instantly filled with rage as she tightly clenched her fists and angrily said, Young Master Shur might not know. My contract with Glory World hasn't expired yet. You can't just kick me out like this. Things like contracts. Shuri Bei raised a brow before giving a shrug. They can be destroyed. You. Xiao Na's face was red, and she was about to cry. She wanted to turn around and look for Jiang Xi's figure, but Jiang Xi was already 8 feet away from her. He wanted to distance himself from her. Xiao Na stood on the spot, as if she was isolated and helpless. Her expression changed rapidly. Nervousness, embarrassment, uneasiness, fear, regret. She opened her mouth, wanting to say something. Shuri Bei had already left the conference room with Luo Qingchen. The moment the door of the conference room was closed, everyone sighed and clicked their tongues. Xiao Na, I don't even want to scold you. Just now, you actually dared to respond. Aren't you? This type of person was a relatively friendly friend. TSK, she didn't succeed in pretending to be a little white flower. Instead, she was defeated by the main character who didn't even say a word. It's a complete, live teaching version of the male lead's argument with White Lotus. This kind of person was more hostile. Chapter 1640. When they walked out of the conference room, Luo Qingchen's heart was beating fast, and her heart was beating fast. Shuri Bei was the same, as usual, but the universal card in his hand allowed him to go anywhere and prosper. It was an elegant Western restaurant with romantic lighting and a faint fragrance in the air. Luo Qingshun looked at Bei sitting in front of her in a white shirt and black suit, and her lips couldn't help curling. He really was handsome, whether it was in military uniform or private uniform. He was glowing. If you keep looking at me, the steak will be cold. Bei raised his right hand and stroked her hair. Be good, quickly eat. Cuckoo. Luo Qingshun ate the steak that he had already cut while saying with a smile, "The Flying Dragon Regiment's Silver Soul Troops captain, Major Shur has suddenly become prosperous young Master Shur. It really is incredible. I'm still a bit excited now." After all, Bei was a major in the army, so he had an aura around him when he went against the supporting female lead. That feeling was very exciting. There were very few men who would openly go against the supporting female lead in this world, because most men were people who only cared about what they had. It was basically impossible for them to go against the supporting female lead in such a domineering manner. Of course, there were men like Bei. If they liked someone, all other women were no different from wooden blocks in their eyes. Really? Bei looked at her with a pampering gaze. He peeled a Boston lobster and put it in her mouth. Actually, I was more excited when you first came to the base. First came to the base? Luo Qingshun bit down on the lobster, feeling that it was tender and juicy. Bei didn't forget to rub the corner of her mouth with his hand. Do you remember the post you made on Weibo, the snowy scenery of White Cliff? Luo Qingshun suddenly thought of something and looked at him with a bit of excitement. When she wanted to say something, Bei gave her a gentle smile. "I wanted to see you that night, but I never thought that you would take a photo." "See me?" He gave a slight nod. "God, Luo songs have always been on my playlist." "Ah, your songs are very good." When everything came together, Luo Qingshun understood why Bei's eyes lit up when he saw her for the first time. It seems like Bei already knew about her before she came. She suddenly felt an indescribable happiness in her heart. After lunch, Bei bought 2 movie tickets. It wasn't a romance movie, it wasn't science fiction movie or a military movie, but rather a horror movie. It had to be said, if she didn't watch this movie, Luo Qingshun wouldn't have found Major Shur's weakness. But scared. Every time they went to a scary place, Luo Qingshun, Luo Qingbei, Luo Qingshun, Luo's Luo. Luo Qingshun didn't watch much of the movie. She was tightly hugged by Bei most of the time. If the other side's fear level was measured in military training, it would definitely be S grade. Major Shur, when they came out of the theater, Luo Qingshun looked at him with a helpless look before seriously reprimanding him. "You're saying that you're a major who is used to fighting bullets, but you're actually afraid of watching a horror movie. If you're afraid, why don't you know your limits and buy tickets?" Chapter 1641. Suddenly, Luo Qingshun felt like she had been teased, and a certain major had actually succeeded in teasing her. No matter how outstanding a person was in this world, they would all have flaws. But to have a flaw in order to hug you, it was very special. "Thank you, Bei," Luo Qingshun said with a faint smile. "Why do I feel that you're even more dazzling than Major Shur right now? Is that so?" Bei looked up and patted her head in a pampering manner. "I hope that in your eyes, I will always be dazzling." He wanted to be the most dazzling person in her eyes. As long as he stood in a crowd, he would be able to attract her attention. Luo Qingshun gave him a warm smile, and Li Guang gave a serious nod. This was the love that she wanted the most. In the deep winter season, it bloomed the most beautifully. They looked at each other with smiles, and the years passed peacefully. The next morning, Luo Qingshun woke up early. The Silver Soul Troop was given 5.5 days of rest by the Flying Dragon Regiment because of their military exploits in the White Cliff Army. Bei said that this was his first time taking such a long vacation. He also said that this was his first date. Since the movie theater had been blacklisted by Luo Qingshun, our major changed places this time. The amusement park. In order to cater to Bei's first date, Luo Qingshun specially wore a pink sweater with a white rabbit printed on the front. She had a moon-white dress, a pair of black leather shoes, and a curly pear blossom perm. She had a youthful and cute aura to her, looking like a high school student. But actually, she was wearing a new set of winter clothes from Milan this year. Her outfit was worth at least 50,000, and that didn't include her bag and jewelry. It was a silver gray Maserati. Sure, eBay had his hands in his pockets as he looked at the car. He was wearing casual clothes, and if one didn't look carefully, they would think that he and Luo Qingshun were wearing matching outfits. It was really hard to imagine that the man in front of him, no matter his outfit or identity, was absolutely a rich second generation. In order to protect the country, he surrounded those children, fearlessly faced a hail of bullets, and was shot 8 times in a row. As a father, Zhe probably doted on him a lot. Otherwise, why would he let him become a soldier? Luo Qingshun waved her hand at him with a happy look on her face. Major Shi's car is really expensive. Luo Qingshun sat in the front passenger seat. Looking at the luxurious configuration of the car, she chuckled and deliberately teased. I'm used to driving a Jeep or a tank. I really don't like driving this kind of car. Sure, eBay's deep eyes couldn't help looking in her direction. This feeling was wonderful. This was the first time in his life that he couldn't help but think if he wasn't a soldier. If he had an eternal vacation, then he could always be by her side. What are you thinking that you're so infatuated? Luo Qingshun looked at him and said, If you keep looking at me like this, I'll be embarrassed. Perhaps the beginning of a relationship was so indulgent. Because of the other party's every action, one's heart would palpitate. You look good. He narrowed his eyes and said with a gentle smile, You look very good no matter how you look at it. She suddenly felt that sure eBay was the kind of man who could throw sugar at her like crazy. Moreover, the words he said were all sincere. Chapter 1642. Since it was the weekend, there were more people in the amusement park. Luo Qingshun didn't like exciting outdoor activities recently, especially things like pirate ships and roller coasters. She felt that after experiencing so much, she was considered an old person, and her heart couldn't take it well. As a soldier, sure eBay's team was very limited in the amusement park. In his eyes, the amusement park was just an activity to play games. I just need to look at your eyes to know that this is Major Shi's first time coming here. Luo Qingshun looked up and said, Our Sir Major's life before was really good. What did you say just now? He glanced over, his beautiful eyes glowing with fragmented light, giving people a unique kind of domineering aura. Luo Qingshun pursed her lips and said with clear eyes, The adjectives I wanted to use weren't appropriate, but you just said we. His deep, dark eyes looked at her with extreme gentleness and tenderness, and an inexplicable sense of excitement welled up in his heart. She said the word we. It was like she was even more excited than him winning 1 against 2 on the battlefield. Luo Qingshun heard this, and her white cheeks couldn't help blushing. She awkwardly touched her ear and said, Did I? Did I? Did I? As she spoke, she retreated backwards towards him and asked in return with a joyful expression, Did I hear wrongly? His eyes were full of smiles as he held her hand firmly in his right palm. He didn't let her fall. Luo Qingshun stopped moving after that. She nodded slightly and kissed him on the cheek. You heard correctly. You are our family's Major Shi. That is the most honored thing in my life. He narrowed his eyes and softly patted her head. I'll treat this as a promise from you. No. Luo Qingshun pursed her lips and shook her head. You have to make promises at the wedding. He looked at her, and after a while, he said a single word, All right. At this moment, sure, eBay was calm on the surface, but his heart was filled with waves. It was the first time that Luo Qingshun had taken the initiative to talk to him about the wedding. He had been worried that his proposal on that day might have been too overbearing. Now, he felt that proposing was the right thing to do. 3 seconds later, he didn't forget to add, As long as you say so. Of course. Luo Qingshun's lips curled into a faint smile. Sure, eBay, you have to remember that I saved your life from the god of death. Sure, eBay heard this and was a bit surprised. Then he looked at her seriously and said, Don't worry, the only thing that can kill me in this world is definitely not a bullet. What's that? Seeing his serious expression, Luo Qingshun didn't forget to act cute and asked, "Is it a cannon?" "It's you. What kind of words of love are the most seductive?" It was probably because you inadvertently discovered that you were being flirted with, and you could even feel the warm blood flowing through your heart. Sure, Bei's place really was good. Luo Qingshun never thought of it back then. What would this world be like without Sure Bei? She only knew that she was standing in a playful amusement park. No matter what she was doing, he was always by her side with a gentle smile. He would bring her a coat and take pictures of her. When the water from the fountain accidentally splashed on her face, she couldn't help laughing, and he would carefully wipe it off with a tissue. This was the most beautiful thing in the world. You were playing, and he was laughing. Chapter 1643. When Sure Bei was on vacation, he spent 2/3 of his time with her. The remaining third was mostly stuck to the bed. Sometimes he wondered if he would feel bored if he lived like this every day. But whenever he thought of this, he would shake his head in self-ridicule and give a faint laugh, because he knew that no matter what the future was, the current Sure Bei wasn't willing to leave Luo Qingshun for even a second. But what he experienced the most was saying goodbye to his lover or family. "I'm going back to the army tomorrow." He looked at her and seriously said, "Be good. You have to wear a scarf when you go out. Don't just care about the temperature. I know that you're very powerful, but don't go to dangerous places and don't do dangerous things." Pucci. Luo Qingshun couldn't help laughing. The old man's nagging. Every time Sure Bei he seriously told her to be careful. She always felt that he was like a big parent, protecting his little daughter at all times. "Isn't it because my fiancée was at the peak when she was in White Cliff, whether it was her sniping skills or her medical skills? How could I be worried?" Although Sure Bei was nagging, his eyes looking at her were still very gentle. It was his dazzling Luo Qingshun that made him like her so much. "Relax. There's no place for me in the big city." Luo Qingshun gave a nod. "Not to mention, I have to start preparing for my concert tour. After all, this was the previous host's profession. She should complete the things that all her fans were looking forward to." The concert was supposed to be held in October of next year, but Luo Qingshun suddenly wanted to bring it forward, because she wanted to get married. "That's right." Sure Bei softly took her hand and took her in his embrace. "I'm on a special mission this time, so I won't be in the country, so I won't be able to contact you." After he said this, Luo Qingshun looked a bit disappointed. This meant that Luo Qingshun wouldn't be able to contact him. Although, as a soldier, this was a common occurrence, but for the fiancé of a soldier, it was hard to avoid feeling disappointed. "So, how long will you be gone?" Luo Qingshun pursed her lips and said in a deep voice, "You haven't finished the 3 things you promised me. Wedding, honeymoon, concert." "Don't worry." Sure Bei took his hands and tightly hugged her as he said in a gentle voice, "Our Silver Soul Troop is mainly going to help. We'll be back in around a week." "Really?" Luo Qingshun's disappointed face suddenly brightened up. She looked at him and said, "A week means you'll be back in about 7 days?" Although this question was very stupid, Sure Bei felt that she was very cute. In the next second, he gently kissed her ear and said, "Yes, I'll be back in 7 days." "Okay." Luo Qingshun smiled and said, "A week is not long. I can accept such a long-distance relationship." In fact, she hated long-distance relationships the most. These 3 words gave people an inexplicable feeling of desolation. "After I come back, I will apply for a month's leave from the army." "A month? Could it be that something happened to Glory World?" Luo Qingshun said in a daze. "Or is it your personal matter?" "A month." Glory World didn't have any large events for a month. Not to mention that even if they did, someone like Sure Bei didn't need to participate. Chapter 1644. Luo Qingshun wasn't a fool. When Sure Bei said the word us, she understood what he meant. But she still acted like a fool out of embarrassment. What do you mean?" Sure Bei saw her hard-to-hide smile and the blush that spread to her ears, knowing that she understood the meaning of his words. But even if he knew that she was asking this on purpose, he wasn't willing to expose it. For Sure Bei, pampering a person was like this. He liked to see her play, and he liked to see her smile even more. We'll get married. We'll go on our honeymoon. And then I'll go to my wife's concert." His voice was very gentle, and each and every word entered her ears. In the next second, she suddenly looked up at him and smiled brightly. Deal. Parting was always sad, even if it was a short parting. Since they were leaving early, sure eBay had Luo Qingshun not send him off at the airport. Not to mention that the entire Silver Soul Troop was leaving together because he was a soldier and she was an artist. If she sent him off at the airport, there wouldn't be any benefits for Shuri Bei. So Luo Qingshun promised him that she wouldn't send him off. Shuri Bei patted her head and praised her for being obedient, saying that if there was a souvenir, he would bring it back for her. But actually, Luo Qingshun still went. She just didn't show up. She was wearing a black down jacket with a scarf wrapped around her neck. The large sunglasses made it hard for people to recognize her at all. She was standing in the VIP area of the airport, looking in Shuri Bei's direction with an unwilling look. He had already taken off his uniform and was wearing an army green camouflage uniform. Yu Xingfan and Su Qingyin were standing on his left and right. If she was asked before if she envied Su Qingyin, she would definitely say no. After all, the most outstanding major loved her and not Su Qingyin. But at this moment, she suddenly envied her. The so-called Silver Soul Troop was like a third-year second class in her eyes. They were a team, and they worked hard for the same goal. They stayed together every day, doing different things for the country and the army. Being by his side in a moment of life and death, it was probably describing him as a comrade. Luo Qingshun sighed softly, pushed up her big sunglasses, and watched them pass through the checkpoint. Shuri Bei, in front of the checkpoint, was surprised. It was like he was looking for something as he looked around. He wasn't looking at the door, but at the direction of the second floor. Luo Qingshun seemed to feel that he was looking in her direction. She hurriedly took a step back so that he couldn't find her. After all, he was fighting for his country. Parting could easily affect his mood. Since he said he wouldn't see her, then he wouldn't see her. Shuri Bei looked away with a bit of disappointment before his lips twitched and he gave a helpless laugh. Su Chengyin saw this and teased. "If Major Shur is looking for someone, you should be looking at the door. Why do I feel like you're looking at the second floor? Nothing." Shuri Bei shook his head. "It's just a feeling." It was a wonderful feeling, as if she was right beside him. In the crowded airport, in the mixed air, he seemed to be able to sense her special aura. Actually, if he didn't let her send him off, the most disappointed person should be him. After all, in his eyes and in his heart. Shuri Bei loved Luo Qingshun. It was several million times more than Luo Qingshun loved Shuri Bei. Chapter 1645. The first day, Shuri Bei went to a foreign country to participate in the rescue. Luo Qingshun went to sign in at Prosper as usual because she had gone from being the big sister of Prosper to the future lady boss. Whether it was the boss or the agent, they all took care of her. She wasn't allowed to participate in any activities for the benefit of the company. Most of the endorsements she took were for luxury brands. After going around the White Cliff United Nations, Xiao Jiu went from a third-rate agent to a first-rate agent. During the afternoon tea, Luo Qingshun ordered a cup of cappuccino with her agent Xiao Jiu sitting across from her. Since she came back, other than Xiao Jiu taking care of her, the other artists had been transferred to other agents. Her days were considered free and unfettered. Do you want to hear some gossip? Xiao Jiu cut off Luo Qingshun, who was seriously preparing the song as her eyes sparkled. Is it related to Xiao Na? Luo Qingshun casually looked up. She could tell what Xiao Jiu wanted to say from her eyes. How do you know? Xiao Jiu gave 2 chuckles. After that Xiao Na left our company, there were many indecent things that she did before. Luo Qingshun thoughtfully looked at her and softly said, and then, Xiao Na was someone who couldn't resist getting close to those with status. So naturally, there were many things that couldn't be revealed. Why aren't you excited at all? Xiao Jiu pouted, feeling like she had provided useless information. Luo Qingshun looked at her and said, if you want to compare yourself to someone like her, I don't mind. Then, do you want to hear about Jiang Xija? Xiao Jiu tentatively asked, not daring to mention it. Although the fans were only guessing about the matters between the 3 of them. But everyone in the industry knew that Luo Qingxian had indeed been with Jiang Xizhi before, and it was a very humble relationship. Although Xiao Jiu was an agent with average talent, she had heard some rumors. Do I want to hear the stories of all the scumbags in the world? Luo Qingxian smiled helplessly and said, for people like Jiang Xizhi, women are just a springboard for his career. F***CK. Little Jiu was stunned for a moment before cursing. She looked at her with admiration and said, handsome, handsome, handsome. So cool. But I also feel that young Master Shi is much more handsome than that Jiang Xizhi. She didn't expect that Luo Qingxian would evaluate Jiang Xizhi so directly. She thought that since they were old lovers, she would at least give him some face. The books always said that women were the most ruthless creatures in the world. The facts prove that this was indeed the case. You're really obsessed with looks. Luo Qingxian gently pinched her face and said, the concert has been finalized. The tour will end within a month. I don't plan to rest in the 12 places. A month? Little Jiu looked at her in disbelief and said, why do you dare? You really have a hard life. This was the first time they had seen a celebrity wanting to hold 12 concerts in a month. This was simply a desperate pace. Because I have something more important to do. When she said this, a certain handsome figure unconsciously flashed in front of her eyes, and his gentle voice even circled around her ears. When she thought of marriage and honeymoon, she was full of motivation to move forward. What important thing? Chapter 1646. 7 days passed very quickly. It wasn't long, but it wasn't short either. Because of the privacy of the mission, they didn't contact each other during these 7 days. But she still carefully dressed up according to the time they agreed on. At 8:03 in the morning, she stayed in bed for 3 minutes before being unwilling to leave. The wardrobe was lined up from dark to light. She took a light purple dress with a white plush coat, a long light purple scarf with tassels, and a pair of knee-high boots. She felt that she should wear something dazzling like this to pick up her major sure. She felt that she was too young at the amusement park last time. After putting on her perfect makeup, she looked at the sparkling diamond ring on her right ring finger, and her lips couldn't help curling into a faint smile. If she was born in ancient times, she would have the feeling that her husband was a great general. He would go on the battlefield and be invincible, returning triumphantly. But the current eBay seemed to have the same status. In her eyes, he was even more handsome than a great general. At 10 in the morning, she looked at her fully charged phone. Carrying a small silver satchel, she drove her small BMW towards the airport. At 11:11 in the morning, she arrived at the airport on time. She went to the VIP seats on the second floor, where she watched him leave. She ordered a cup of iced coffee. In this winter filled with snow, she didn't feel cold at all. Although she was waiting aimlessly, her heart was filled with anticipation. She looked at her phone anytime and anywhere, waiting for the ringtone to ring. At 12:30 in the afternoon, she was a bit hungry. She wore sunglasses and went to the McDonald's at the airport to buy a set meal for two. She knew that she couldn't finish it, but she thought that if he got off the plane at noon, he should be hungry. She brought a set meal for two, just in case. At 3:18 in the afternoon, her mood wasn't as good as it was in the morning. Her makeup was a bit smudged, and the milk tea in her hand was already cold. Her phone was 90% charged. She was afraid that her phone would run out of battery, so she didn't even dare check Weibo. At night, until night fell, there were not many people passing by the airport that had been bustling with people. She was surprised as she looked at her phone and saw that it was already 11:58. There were still 2 minutes before the day was over. But eBay didn't appear and didn't even call her. Luo Qingxian walked out of the airport in disappointment. She didn't forget to mutter, "Big liar. Didn't he say that it wouldn't exceed 7 days?" He had exceeded it just like that. Standing at the entrance of the airport and looking at the snow that had just landed, she felt both disappointed and angry. Until, ding, affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 100%. For some reason, the favorable impression points suddenly increased. Moreover, it was the favorable impression points from completing the mission 100%. Normally speaking, the most likely reason for this was that Sure, eBay was nearby. Luo Qingshun quickly took out her mobile phone and dialed the familiar number, but the phone was turned off as usual. She suddenly felt an inexplicable panic in her heart. If he wasn't nearby, why would his favorability suddenly increase? System? The male lead was the male lead nearby? He's not here. The system's robotic voice sounded, but it seemed to carry a tone of pity. Actually, when the system said the word not here, her fingertips unconsciously trembled, and cold sweat broke out on her back. Chapter 1647. Her heart was pounding nonstop. She was a little flustered and uneasy. Before she came to a conclusion, she could only tell herself that it can't be. It can't be. Perhaps he had already arrived at her house and wanted to give her a surprise. With this thought in mind, she quickly drove the car in the direction of her home. There was no one waiting at the empty door. She didn't know how she got home. She only knew that sadness was spreading in her heart. Bit by bit, it eroded all her happiness. The next day, she didn't wake up at noon. It was her phone that woke her up. The moment the ringtone rang, her head shook and she felt a sense of nervousness. She immediately picked up her phone, but the words Major Sure didn't appear in front of her eyes. It was from her manager, Xiao Jiao. The phone rang for a long time, but she didn't pick it up. Once upon a time, some terrifying images flashed before her eyes. It was as if she could see the future. It was a vast expanse of white snow, and the ground was covered in bright red blood. The moment the phone stopped ringing, she was afraid that it would ring again. This was because she had told Xiao Jiao not to call her a second time if she didn't pick up the first time. Xiao Jiao must be busy. When she was done, she would naturally call back. Of course, unless it was an urgent matter. At this moment, ring, ring, ring. His phone rang again. Luo Qingshun took a deep breath and quickly picked it up. Hello, what's wrong? Qingshun, someone is looking for you at the company. It seems to be for young Master Sure. I got it. I'll go over now. She interrupted her and didn't continue listening. Along the way, Luo Qingshun didn't dare to communicate with the system at all. She knew that there were some things she didn't want to hear. When she arrived at the company, a man in a suit was waiting for her. He looked to be in his 40s and looked very mature. His expression was very serious, and he was holding a black envelope in his hand. The moment Luo Qingshun saw the envelope, her eyes instantly turned misty. She pursed her lips tightly, not daring to make a sound. She knew that in the army, every time they carried out a dangerous mission, they would write a suicide note regardless of their rank. This kind of suicide note was usually sealed in a black envelope. Hello, Miss Luo. The man nodded politely at her and said, I'm Chairman Shure's assistant. This letter is, don't say any more. Luo Qingshun's clear eyes were devoid of any light. Every time she spoke, she would unconsciously tremble. Chairman Shure asked me to hand it to you. The man stuffed the envelope into her hand and said, because he only wrote one letter, and he wrote it to you. Luo Qingshun clenched the envelope in her hand, and big drops of crystal tears fell down. She felt her heart clench and her mind go blank. Only two words were left. Panic, panic, panic. Can you tell me why? After a long time, she bit her lip and slowly looked up. She hissed, at least tell me. Where is it? At least she wanted to know what kind of desperate situation he was in that he could give up his promise to her and not live. Chapter 1648. The entire Silver Soul Troop, there wasn't a single survivor. No wonder the one who told her this wasn't Yu Xingfan or Su Qingyin. Because they couldn't come, no wonder she received the system notification at 12:12 last night. Because it was impossible for him to come back. So he thought of her at that moment and had 100% affection for her. Young Miss Luo, I'm worried about the old master being home alone. The man didn't speak for a while before saying, I'll be heading back first. The man's eyes were a bit red, as they were filled with sadness and regret. Luo Qingshun didn't say anything as she took the black envelope and walked past him step by step. It wasn't that she hadn't experienced death before, but because she had, she hated it even more. She hated it so much that she hoped that this world would live forever, so that no one would have to experience death again. She didn't know how she got home. She just knew that it was already night when she got home. There was a low battery phone in her left hand, and a black envelope in her right hand. Actually, she already knew last night. Perhaps something had happened to eBay, because the uneasiness in her heart was too strong, so strong that her nose became a bit stuffy. It was like as long as she said a single word about him, she would cry. She knew that this definitely wasn't a good thing. She didn't wash her face or take a shower. Lying on the sofa, tears came down from the corners of her eyes. She was tightly holding the last thing he left in this world. She believed it when she saw it. But if she didn't see it, did she miss the last words he said to her? Her heart was filled with pain, and there was a suffocating feeling when she pressed down. At that moment, she couldn't help thinking of the 3 promises she made to him. For the wedding, I want to hold it in the sea of flowers. Your vacation will be a bit longer. You won't be called back to the military during your honeymoon. I have a concert tour next October. You have to come see it. He didn't fulfill a single one of the 3 promises. She had happily brought the concert forward, and he didn't have time to listen to it. She had originally thought that after the concert, what awaited her would be a romantic wedding. She never thought that would be an ice-cold suicide note. It was like everything was destined. From a moment she flew to the white cliff base, the ending had already been written. Lying on the sofa and looking at the white ceiling, he actually had the thought of committing suicide. It turned out that one would never become numb to despair after experiencing it once. It will only make you feel that human existence in this world is meaningless, especially since the most important person had already left. Then what was the point of living? Every time she experienced separation, she would always think about who she was and why she had to experience the life and death of love again and again. She had thought about this question for a long time, but she still could not come up with an answer. Later on, she simply stopped thinking about it because she felt that at least she had experienced it. At least she had the complete love of that man in every plane. Wasn't this already enough? In that case, could she choose to leave after reading this letter? Luo Qingshan closed her eyes, suddenly sat up, and slowly opened the envelope. eBay's writing wasn't that kind of flowery writing. His handwriting was very clean, and every stroke seemed to be vigorous and powerful, revealing his absolute aura. Chapter 1649. To my dearest fiancé, after being in the army for so many years, I've never written a suicide note. This is the first time. My father and I had a tacit understanding. When fighting on the battlefield, no news was good news. Even if there is news, we can't release any details because we are soldiers who protect the justice and peace of our country. And this time, it seemed that I finally had someone to write to. But I found that I wasn't willing to let this letter fall into your hands at all. But if I'm that unlucky and this letter still falls into your hands, it will prove that everything I said to you was a lie, that I am a big liar. I didn't give you any promises and I never loved you. For a liar who never loved you, please don't remember him for too long because he has already forgotten you. eBay in his suicide note, there was not a single word of longing, not a single word of reluctance. The meaning that was written in black and white was just a few short words. I don't love you. Please forget me. Really a fool. There was a choked-up voice as the hands, holding the letter, couldn't stop trembling. She didn't know how helpless he was when he was surrounded by militants on that barren, snowy mountain. She was clearly there to help, but she was cruelly abandoned by those who needed help. If possible, she really wanted to be by his side at that moment, tightly holding his hand and telling him that she was by his side. Life or death wasn't important. The important thing was to be by his side, by his side, by his side. She didn't know when she fell asleep. She just knew that the dream was very long. The eBay in the dream was very gentle, looking as dazzling as he did in the conference room that day. She wanted to grab his hand, but she found that there was nothing in front of her. It was like she was in a chaotic space, surrounded by darkness, and not a single bit of light could be seen. The eBay in the dream was just smiling as he softly stroked her head and her face. Luo Qingshan wanted to ask something, but she found that she couldn't make a sound at all. Tears silently fell down her cheeks, and he raised his hand to softly wipe them away for her. The scene became more blurred, and there was a hoarse voice that sounded in her ears. Wait for me to come back. Ding-ling. There was another wild ring. She knitted her brows and wanted to throw the phone away, but the final words of eBay in the dream still echoed in her ears. She was scared to death, like she had been injected with adrenaline, instantly being filled with energy. "Hey, Ching-chun, are you all right?" "Sorry, Xiaojiao." She bit her lip and said, "If you're just here to comfort me, then let me be alone." As soon as she finished speaking, she was about to hang up. "Ching-chun, young master, Shi's memorial service. Are you coming?" Xiaojiao did not forget to add, "No one in the company knows about this. It was that man from yesterday who came to look for me alone. He's CEO, Shi's assistant." In such a long sentence, Luo Chen only heard 3 words. Memorial, 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 Xiaojiao. The time is 7:30 tomorrow morning. Yes. She hung up the phone, took a deep breath, and walked into the bathroom. When the hot water was poured over her head, she felt like she had come back from the edge of death. She took out a black windbreaker, a black round hat, black gloves, and a black bag from the wardrobe. Standing in front of the mirror, she almost cried. Chapter 1650. Those comforting people would always say, forget it. Time will heal all wounds and let you get back on your feet." But only she knew that some people would leave an eternal mark in their hearts. No matter how many years passed, they couldn't be forgotten even if they turned to dust. The clock in the hall kept ticking, and those words kept echoing in her mind. He wanted her to wait for him. Those words. But he was already dead. How could she wait? Was it the next life? Or the next world? She didn't know how long she had been sitting in the living room. She didn't feel hungry, but she didn't have any strength. She took 2 compressed biscuits and a bottle of mineral water from the fridge. She stuffed it in her mouth and was too lazy to even open the packaging as she swallowed it after taking 2 bites. So filling her stomach so she wouldn't faint felt like this. She didn't close her eyes all night and put on some light makeup before attending eBay's funeral. Xiaojiao was waiting for her downstairs at 6. She who loved to sleep and was actually this diligent at this time. On the way, Xiaojiao said many things, but Luo Qingchun didn't listen to a single word. When they arrived at the cemetery, her eyes couldn't help turning red. This was a place unique to the Shi group, so everyone here was rich. Shi Zai's assistant personally came to the door to pick her up and brought her to the coffin. Luo Qingchun slightly knit her brows, feeling a bit confused. "Bayer didn't die in our country. We've sent people to search, but we still haven't found his body." A slightly sad voice came from behind her. This was her first time seeing Shi Zai. He looked to be in his 40s and was wearing a fine black robe with a golden badge on his chest. Luo Qingchun narrowed her eyes and couldn't help feeling that the pattern on the badge was a bit familiar. It seemed to be the same as the mark on the back of every male lead's ear. So there's no sign of him. Right? Luo Qingchun couldn't say it, even though it was on the tip of her tongue. She felt that as long as she didn't admit it, he could always exist in this world. Okay. Shi Zai nodded solemnly. He wanted to say something, but he hesitated. After a long while, he said, "Bayer has even ordered your wedding dress. He plans to bring you to see me this time." At the end of his sentence, Shi Zai seemed to be unable to make a sound. The assistant standing beside him waved at her. Luo Qingchun quickly turned around and raised her head. Her eyes were red. The people who cherished each other the most in this world were her and Shi Zai. After all, Shi Bei was just too important to the two of them. Facing the coffin made of mystic ice, there was a green military uniform inside. The coffin was surrounded by green flowers. It was as if everything about him was so righteous and full of strength. She closed her eyes, hoping for a fluke. Did the fact that there was no corpse meant that she still had a sliver of hope? It was just like how the family members of plane crash victims would never believe that their family members had died. They firmly believed that their family members might still be alive. Perhaps they were on an unknown island. Perhaps they were on a warm beach. She suddenly thought of that dream, what Shi Bei had said to her in that dream. She could wait. She could keep waiting. As long as he came back, she could wait. Chapter 1651. Waiting. was like a long journey. Waiting without an end was like waiting for the end of life. Other than passing the days, there was only suffering. She didn't like waiting, but she had to accept this kind of waiting. She had taken sleeping pills and done stupid things, but she would strangely wake up each time. She would go to the hospital and bandage her wounds. Since the matter of eBay was known by the public, she had more fans than before. It was because after this matter, she never posted on Weibo. She didn't act pitiful because of eBay's death and gain popularity. When a person was truly pitiful, she wasn't in the mood to do anything. She liked being alone the most. She liked being in a dark corner. She liked being alone. Spring passed, and autumn came. The cherry blossoms bloomed. A year later, she held her first concert. The tickets for the concert were all snatched up by the fans in less than a minute. Even the scalpers couldn't help being surprised at how terrifying the speed of the fans was. In this year, she didn't take on any activities, and Xiao Jio, who was her agent, didn't leave her side. After Zhe learned of this, not only did he give Xiao Jio a raise, he also gave her an unparalleled position and prosper. Luo Qingshan was grateful to this kind of father. In her eyes, the feeling Zhe gave her was different from the people in the business circle. He could allow eBay to become a soldier, and he could allow eBay to choose any woman to be his lover. A person with such a broad mind couldn't help admiring him. The concert will start tomorrow. The first stop is a city, and the last stop is a city. Xiao Ju looked at the itinerary. Take it slow. There's no rush. Hearing Xiao Ju say this, she couldn't help feeling a pain in her chest, but she slowly looked up with a smile. That's right. That smile really is ugly. Xiao Jio rubbed her chest. There are many people who love Luo Qingshan in this world. It's time to let it go. She pursed her lips, and after a while, she shook her head. No. A year. An entire year. From spring and summer to autumn and winter, it was spring and summer. There was no news from the people far away. The longer time passed, the less hope there was. But she couldn't forget. There was no meaning in staying here if she forgot. Xiao Jio gave a soft sigh and helplessly shook her head. Some people were destined to be obsessed from birth. The concert was held as scheduled. The fans had prepared clothes of the same color, a glowing turquoise color. Banners, lamp boards, silver light sticks. Every color was suffused with a faint green light. They knew that her favorite color was green. I haven't seen everyone in a long time. The concert has also been delayed for a long time. Luo Qingshan sat in front of the piano. Her eyes flashed with a touch of tears. I think that every song you sing now is a farewell song for me. Qingshan, don't cry. The fans chanted her name, as if they were sad for her. In this chaotic world, he gave her some warmth. Got it, let's sing. She came to my concert. On their first date at the age of 17, the boy queued up all night for her. He used half a year's savings to buy a pair of tickets. Countless silver light sticks swayed gently to the melody. This was the only night in the past year that she had been moved. That young man had once said that he would definitely come to her concert. Chapter 1652. She didn't know how many times she would go back on her words, but she would keep waiting until the 12 concerts were over. She wanted to end everything here. This was her first time feeling the pain and despair of the previous host. It turned out that ending one's life was a decision that couldn't be taken back. At the same time, in the ancient capital of Istan, Captain, we'll be able to leave this forbidden area once we cross this snow mountain. Yu Xingfan, who had lost an arm, looked at eBay with a sad look. We're finally leaving. It's been a year. eBay slowly looked up with an unknown sadness in his eyes. In this year, they had been trapped in the snow mountain of the ancient capital of Istan and couldn't contact the outside world. There were always militants guarding the foot of the mountain, so it was impossible for them to go back. In the end, the only path to the foot of the mountain was blown up by the militants, causing an avalanche. The entire mountain range had changed, and the path down was already covered in snow, so they could only find another way. In order to survive, the soldiers of the Silver Soul Troop decided to cross the snow mountain and march 1,000 miles. Because of the lack of food and water, they had to use the only resources they had and what they had learned to move forward. If they made a single mistake, everyone would have been buried in the snow. What? Major Sure is thinking about her again? Su Chang-een revealed a smile. There were a few more wrinkles on her face in her early 20s. In this year, she wanted to give up many times, especially in the low temperature of the night. She wanted to sleep comfortably, but she would wake up in her dreams and her body would be sore after waking up. The food they ate was unimaginable, and the place they lived in wasn't a place people could survive. But they still experienced it. For sure, eBay. There was only one belief in his heart. Live on, live on, live on. Only by living could he see her again. In his short dreams, that figure that appeared day and night. In the next second, he turned his eyes and smiled gently. I don't know if she'll still like me like this. I don't know if she will remember me. I feel that she will. Su Chang-een gently patted his shoulder and said, although I never liked her, I will always remember the way she looked at you when you were shot by 8 bullets and your life was hanging by a thread. It was probably because she had seen Luo Qingshan at that time that she felt that perhaps their love was indeed not something she could compete for. The fortune teller was right. Sure, eBay would meet the person he loved the most in his life. Actually, she had to admit that the first day they came to the White Cliff base, the way Sure eBay looked at her was different. The kind of eager gaze that wanted to get closer, as well as the slight smile at the corner of his mouth. He had never been like this before. Really, Sure eBay's eyes were a bit red as a faint mist appeared in them. I just feel that I've let her down. He could imagine the look on her face when she received the letter. He didn't give her the happiness she deserved. Instead, he gave her despair. Once upon a time, there was a moment when he felt that if he hadn't met her, if he hadn't liked her, if he hadn't confessed to her, would she fall in love with someone else and live a happy life? Instead of experiencing such great sorrow. Chapter 1653. On the brightly lit stage, she sang every song on stage, and her voice filled everyone's ears. The crazy ching-chun from the fans under the stage gave her a bit of comfort. After the concert, she once again appeared on Weibo after a year. There were no fancy dances and no guests. Just like that, she sang more than 20 songs quietly, using her voice to move her fans. This was an unparalleled feast for the eyes and ears. At midnight, she sent a Weibo post in memory of the most important person in her life, Luo Qingchun. Things change with the passage of time. I'm envious of your position in my heart. In less than a minute, her Weibo was attacked by all her fans, and even her Weibo went crazy. Turning around glass white. Good luck, we've always been here. 1,038 likes. Little Bean Sprout. I don't know why, but when I listen to your songs, I can think of my own story. 856 likes. Ching's Meow Meow. It's because I know what you've been through that I feel sorry for your strength. 722 likes. White Fireworks. Please live a happy life, even if it's for us. 600 likes. Most of the likes and replies were from her true fans who had followed her all the way. They knew the pain in her heart, so they knew the meaning behind her words. Today was Sure eBay's second day. He had disappeared from her life for an entire year. In the first few days and weeks, she still looked forward to it. She was looking forward to him suddenly appearing by her side and tightly hugging her. But after an entire 365 days, she no longer looked forward to it. After waiting for it to become a fantasy, all that was left was a sad thought. DD. There was a notification from QQ. It was her agent Xiao Jiao who sent her a message. Wine intoxicating man's heart. There's a shocking piece of news. Do you want to hear it? Xiao Jiao had a very special habit. She liked to add an emoticon after each sentence. Only hating too rushed. What is it? She changed this name later. It was just 5 words, but it expressed her thoughts. Wine intoxicating man's heart. Jiang Xizha has been caught. I heard that his ex-fans have finally been exposed. Moreover, the fans this time aren't small. Hating that it was too rushed. That's pretty good. I'm going to bed. I still have to prepare for another round of concerts in a few days. Xiao Jiao, who was at the computer dock, was stunned for a moment before she sighed softly. Every time she wanted to say something to make her happy, it seemed to be ineffective. The word goodnight was still in the chat window, but the other party's avatar had already dimmed. After turning off the computer, Luo Qingshan lay on the bed and took 2 sleeping pills. She prayed that she could dream of the young man in the military uniform. On the night of his death anniversary, she really dreamed of him. In a vast expanse of white snow, one heavy step after another. She couldn't see his eyes, but she could feel his exhaustion. He seemed to be very tired, as if he wanted to escape. The dream was very long, so long that she actually slept for an entire day and night without opening her eyes. When he woke up, it was already the morning of the next day. "Ah!" she exclaimed and looked at her phone, her hands trembling. It was probably because she had been too tired recently, so tired that she slept for 24 hours. After confirming that a day and a night had passed, she shook her head gently and smiled self-deprecatingly. "It's good that you didn't go. Anyway, I never believed that you had left me. I don't believe that I won't see your corpse." Chapter 1654. The concert went very smoothly. Every venue was filled to the brim. Even if it was an ordinary concert, there were still people who were addicted to her singing, like it was a song that told a story. Time passed very quickly, and she finished 11 concerts in less than 3 months. She returned to a city tonight and planned on holding her final concert. She was sitting backstage, checking the song she was going to sing tonight, and Xiaojio was helping her choose the final outfit. "I won't wear the black outfit today." Luo Qingqian's eyes paused on the moon-white outfit before she said, "Wear white." Xiaojio was surprised for a while before saying, "It really is a good thing that you can think like this." Since Bei left a year ago, Luo Qingqian had always worn black or dark-colored clothes, whether it was performing on stage or going to other places. She knew why she did this, but she couldn't stop her at all. If she didn't meet Luo Qingqian, she never would have believed that there was this kind of obsession in this world. She couldn't escape and couldn't let it go. "Is that so?" Luo Qingqian said with a soft laugh. "I just don't plan on staying here." Returning to the chaos space and meeting that person again was the most important thing. She didn't want to waste time here. Her mission had been completed. She should leave. But she always felt that she owed him a concert, a final concert. "Where are you going?" Xiaojio was surprised before quickly asking in a flustered voice. "Traveling around the world?" Luo Qingqian thought for a bit before saying, "Let's not talk about this for now. The opening song, She Came to My Concert, I want to sing it last." All right, I'll go find the stage manager to arrange it." Xiaoju nodded and walked out of the lounge. Luo Qingqian sat in front of the mirror and looked at herself in the mirror, feeling a strange feeling. It seemed like she hadn't seriously looked in the mirror in a long time. When the concert began, a group of fans cheered her name in the audience, shouting themselves hoarse. If there was anyone in this world she couldn't let go of, it would be her fans. "All right, let's sing the last song. The name of the song is She's Here to Listen to My Concert," the fans shouted in unison, and the accompaniment sounded slowly. "I sang her heart. I sang her heart." She tried not to look tired. "The years are listening to us sing with no regrets. Singing in the applause until I shed tears. Singing until I shed tears." She gently brushed her cheek with her right hand, only to realize that her face was already covered in tears. So this was the feeling that real songs could move people. Stories could move people's hearts. Light sticks danced in the air, giving her the best curtain call. At the same time, backstage, a woman in a military green camouflage uniform walked in. She had a neat ponytail. She gently raised her hand and patted little Gio's shoulder. "Can you help me?" "Ah." Little Gio slowly raised her head. When she saw the woman's figure in the mirror, she suddenly exclaimed. 2 security guards quickly came up and wanted to restrain the woman, but they were beautifully thrown over her shoulder by her. They cried out in pain on the ground. "You what? Don't tell me you don't recognize me." The woman gently brushed her hair and said, "It hurts my young heart. It seems like I've really aged a lot." "No, you." Little Gio was so emotional that she couldn't speak. Tears streamed down her face. Chapter 1655. Xiaojio desperately nodded as she said in a choked voice, "What does it tell me?" "Add another round of sending flowers." "Someone can't wait to send her flowers." Su Qingyin looked up with a faint smile in her eyes. At this moment, Luo Qingqian, standing on stage, didn't know what was happening. The stage lights that had been on for a long time instantly dimmed. There was a sigh in the crowd. Luo Qingchun slightly knit her brows and closed the piano before speaking into another microphone. What is it? Sorry, there seems to be a problem with the lighting. It'll be done in a bit. Xiao Jiu gave the stage control an OK sign before saying to everyone through the microphone, "Welcome fans to Qingchun's concert. Next up is the final event, flowers from a senior fan." What is this situation? Luo Qingchun tightly knit her brows as she said into the backstage. Didn't I say to cancel this event? The girl backstage had a helpless look. She wanted to say something, but Su Ching-een beside her took the microphone. She directly said into the microphone, "Cancel what? She's this popular. Can't we senior fans send her flowers?" At this moment, Luo Qingchun, standing on the stage, suddenly trembled. This was a voice that she hadn't heard in a long time, bringing her back to the White Cliff base from a year ago. There was a female doctor who didn't like her, saying words that made her want to be beaten. "You dang dang dang." Before she could finish her sentence, the lights on the stage shone down. The other beam of light came from a young man in private clothes not far away. He was holding a bunch of dandelions in his hands. His eyes were like the stars in the night sky, revealing a faint glimmer of light. There was a buzzing sound in her head. Just like a year ago at the airport, her mind went blank in an instant. Sure, Bei held the dandelions as he walked towards her step by step. Everyone's eyes fell onto this youth. One of the fans recognized Sure Bei and called out in surprise. "It's him. He's the one I've been waiting for. He's the man who appeared on the cover of a magazine with me a year ago, the extremely handsome man." It was probably because this person's voice was too loud that she woke up from her daze. When she looked up again, her eyes were red. At this time, Shuri Bei was already under the stage closest to her. Between the two vertical lights, there was only darkness. However, he passed through the layers of darkness and reached out his hand towards her. His cool voice was filled with affection as he looked at her and said, "Sorry, I'm late." In the next second, Luo Qingchun lifted her long white dress and ran towards her recklessly. The background music slowly played. I sang until she was enchanted. I sang until her heart broke. She tried her best not to look tired. Tom listened to us sing without regrets. In the applause, we sang until we shed tears, sang until we shed tears. Sure, Bei firmly caught Luo Qingchun, who jumped off the stage and tightly held her in his embrace. It was probably because of this gentle and warm embrace that he was able to survive in such a harsh environment. He couldn't die. He definitely couldn't die. There was still a girl in this world waiting for him, waiting for his embrace, waiting for their reunion. Chapter 1656. Whoa, There were cheers from under the stage, and many fans in the front row even shed tears. The person they loved on stage, they knew that she had been immersed in sorrow for a year. She would sing the song, "She Came to My Concert," at every concert, because she looked forward to the day when that young man would miraculously appear at her concert. As long as he appeared, all the waiting would be worth it. Sure, Bei. She worked hard to adjust her breathing as her tears couldn't stop falling drop by drop. She kept shouting his name in his embrace. Sure, Bei. Sure, Bei. Sure, Bei. I'm here. He softly patted her head, feeling her sobbing in his embrace, his heart filled with pain. It was a good thing that he persevered. It was a good thing that he came back. It was a good thing that he didn't die. Tell me, this isn't a dream. It's not a dream. It's not a dream. She knew that there were close to 100,000 people watching her. She knew that her concert was being broadcasted online, but she didn't care about anything as she cried in his embrace like a child. People who hadn't experienced life and death might softly say, "What a joke." But people who had experienced it would know fame, money, and concerts. They weren't worth mentioning in front of life. This isn't a dream. He tightly hugged her and gently said in her ear, "I'm back. Even if it was difficult, I still came back and made it to your final concert." When he was at the foot of the snow mountain in the ancient capital of Istan, the avalanche had buried him under 5 meters of snow. The only thought that flashed in his mind was that if she died, he would have broken his promise. He didn't do a single thing that he promised her. He was like a big liar, breaking into her bright life and then cruelly disappearing without a trace. She closed her eyes and nodded with all her might, using up all the strength she had in her entire life. "Why aren't you talking?" After a while, Bei saw that the girl in his embrace was no longer sobbing, so he asked in a soft voice. "Ah." Luo Qingshun suddenly reacted. This was her concert for 100,000 fans, and her face couldn't help turning red. She rubbed against Bei's clothes and said, "That, are there many people looking at me?" Bei looked around before looking at her with a gentle gaze. "It's not that much. Less than 100,000. As soon as her voice fell, she angrily looked up at him. Bei. 100,000. 100,000. 100,000. Luo Qingshun suddenly felt that this number was so huge. In the next second, he leaned over and kissed her gently on the lips without hesitation. She was stunned. She felt that countless flashes were flashing around her, almost blinding her eyes. The blush on her cheeks extended all the way to her ears. He actually kissed her in front of 100,000 people. After a while, he softly let her go. Under the flashes, he looked in her eyes and said, "Now it's not just you who feels embarrassed, there's also me." Chapter 16:57. When she came home at night, she looked at her phone and didn't dare touch it for a long time. She definitely couldn't go on Weibo at this time. She couldn't watch the news. She couldn't connect to anything on the internet. Because she didn't even need to think to know that all the news in the entertainment industry was about her. She had already thought of the headlines for herself. Popular singer, kissing a strange man at the end of the concert. Guess who he is? Luo Qingshun's weight. Entertainment news. She came to my concert and the male lead was exposed. Damn. She angrily said to herself before picking up her phone to call Bei. When she opened the address book, she found that she didn't have his number at all. As a major in the army, the first thing he did after escaping death was to report to the army. As a special forces soldier, the army was what he loved. She felt that she wouldn't be competing with a young and beautiful girl, but rather competing with his army. Just as her heart was filled with anger, her phone rang. It was an unknown number. Luo Qingshun knit her brows and picked it up. "Hello, Miss Luo. There's a package for you downstairs. There's a surprise. Please check it." There was a gentle voice that sounded with a faint smile in it. "Stand there and don't move. If the package isn't a surprise, I won't hesitate to return it." Luo Qingshun hung up, and her lips couldn't help curling into a faint smile. That day, she suddenly felt like she had gone from hell to heaven. As long as Bei came back, many trivial things in her life would become more beautiful. She put on a jacket and ran downstairs. Bei was wearing an army green camouflage uniform, returning to her line of sight. His skin was darker than before, his hair was longer than before, and his eyebrows were deeper than before. But no matter how he changed, he was still that Bei, the most important person to her in this world. "Where's my package?" She shook her head and looked around, but she didn't see any package at all. Bei raised his right hand and patted her head, stopping her from moving. "The package I'm talking about is mine. How is it? Is it a surprise?" "I'm going back." Luo Qingshun gave a soft snort and pretended to be angry as she turned to go back. She never thought that the other side would be a step faster as he grabbed her arm. "It's hard to come back. I won't let you go." Listening to his gentle and flirtatious words, she suddenly remembered the scene when they first met. Luo Qingshun wasn't stubborn. She took his hand and said in a cute voice, "Are you home?" She could still remember Zay's eyes during the funeral ceremony at the cenotaph. Zay's a father's loves is his love testes loves tts loves ts. Luo's is Luo's tis with his father and his tis good t to good ts. I feel that you should go see him. Luo Qingshun pursed her lips. "He should miss you very much." "All right." Bei gently took her hand and took it. "I just missed you a bit, so I came to see you first. I'll be back soon." Chapter 16:58. So, our Qingshun is jealous of the army? Seeing how cute she was, Bei couldn't help feeling that he didn't fall in love with her at first sight. Perhaps it was just because she was too charming when she was cute. At that moment, he couldn't stop himself from falling deeply. Humph! Luo Qingshun gave a soft snort before revealing a bright smile. Ha! Ha! I was lying to you. After all, you came looking for me first, right? Actually, she knew that her position in Yi-Bei's life was several million times more important than anything else. I was told that it was your concert when I got off the plane, so I wanted to go without stopping. Staff Sergeant Su stopped me and said that you shouldn't be able to recognize me. Yi-Bei looked at her and said, "What to do? You still look like you're 17 or 18, and I look like I'm already 30. After experiencing a year that no normal person could experience, whether it was his appearance or his body, he felt much older. Luo Qingxian gave a thoughtful nod. Shouldn't uncles like Lolas? So, Major Sure, you can still be a Lolacan. Actually, in her eyes, no matter what Yi-Bei became, as long as she looked into his eyes, she would be able to recognize him. No matter how old he became, she would be able to recognize him with a single glance. No, I'm a Qingxian lover. Yi-Bei's deep eyes had a faint sparkle. As long as it's you, I can't help liking you. He softly hugged her before saying, I will never leave you. I won't let you see that black envelope again. I won't let you fall into eternal despair again. His gentle voice was so touching that she almost burst into tears. In the end, the heavens gave her a beautiful ending. She did not take the important people away from her side again. 3 months later, they held a romantic wedding in a sea of flowers in Provence. Apart from her good friends, the rest of the people present were all soldiers. It had to be said, this was a very interesting wedding. Even when the drinking game was being played, it felt like they were shouting 1234. The words hello, sister-in-law rang in her ears again and again. Suddenly, she felt like she had become a soldier's wife. When they were eating, Xiao Jiu looked at her with tears in her eyes and didn't forget to say, Do you want to hear some gossip? Of course, what gossip? Luo Qingxian toasted while she didn't forget to listen to Xiao Jiu's gossip. That Xiao now was also caught. Xiao Jiu said, It's said that she was caught selling sex. Damn, explosive. Luo Qingxian replied with an excited look. It really is satisfying. Xiao Jiu on the side. Xiao's eyes shout Juices, but now I do. His return could turn her into a normal person who could feel joy, anger, sorrow, and joy. After the wedding, they traveled around the world and finally went to the North Pole, not forgetting to pass by the White Cliff United Nations. In the vast expanse of snow, Yi-Bei held his camera and took pictures of her beautiful moments along the way. The final picture was when he softly called out to her, and she softly responded to him. Honey, he shouted at her back with the camera in his hand. When she turned back, he pressed a shutter. It really looks good. Chapter 1659. I have traveled tens of thousands of miles and suffered many hardships just to hold your hand and grow old together. Yi-Bei grew up in a single-parent family. My mother was a soldier. She was a 1 in 10,000 Special Forces, becoming the youngest major in less than 3 years after entering the Army. That was a rank that had been exchanged for many lives, but my mother had done it. She had saved a child during a peacekeeping operation and became a hostage. In the end, she was tortured to death. I still remember what her corpse looked like when I found it. There wasn't a single piece of skin that was intact. At that moment, I decided that I wanted to become a soldier. My father didn't stop me because I knew that he would never forget my mother's death. He agreed in his heart since he also wanted to kill his enemies, but he couldn't do it at his age. The day I became a major, I went to pay my respects to my mother. It was snowing heavily that day, and there were pink petals floating down from the sky. I didn't know what kind of omen it was at that time, but I knew later. That was the first time I saw her at the White Cliff base, and I was strangely excited. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that it was love at first sight. That's because my phone, which was lacking in music storage, was filled with her songs. I told my father about Prosper sponsoring the military's medical experiment, but I never thought that she would come back. Wearing a down jacket, she was even more dazzling compared to those people who didn't care about their temperature. Su Cheng-in, standing beside me, said something to me, but I didn't hear a single word and my eyes were strangely attracted to her. It was a very dramatic love at first sight. After that, it was the shooting competition. I looked at her confident eyes, and I didn't think that she was bragging. Although the A-grade training was an impossible task for normal people, my brain strangely believed that she could do it. Facts proved that my thoughts were right. While everyone else was stunned by her beauty, I was full of admiration for her. I had seen soldiers who were good with revolvers, but I had never seen someone who could use a revolver to such a degree. At that moment, I even saw a rare frustration on the face of the proud Su Chengyin. However, she merely shrugged her shoulders with an indifferent look on her face. I suddenly found that my love for her was inexplicably deep, and it kept rising as things developed. That night, the snow was very deep. I went to the temporary house they were living in, and I never thought that she would take a picture of me. Then I seemed to have a reason to talk to her. Roasted sweet potatoes, that was a good choice. I thought that she would reject me, but I never thought that she would agree. I didn't know what kind of person she liked, a cold boy, or someone like me who liked to joke and was like a soldier. But I never thought that a good roasted sweet potato would be the beginning of a disaster. There was a militant attack in the center of White Cliff Town, and at that time, she told me that she wanted to go. I knew that her marksmanship was exceptional, and I knew that there was something in her indifferent eyes that was different from others. When I was still very adamant about not letting her come along, I looked at her slightly furrowed brows and knew that she probably hated me. But she hated me, and I still didn't change my mind. I just didn't expect that she would come to Rock City with Tianxin.